my messages for invites never went through to certain individuals. And I'm going to take a screenshot of those individuals because that's very
Well,
telling.
Stealth, you sent a space to me this morning, and
Yes,
it's now telling me that that I had to accept that space this morning.
that you had to accept or you
I
accepted it.
accepted it this morning. Well, I only spotted it there in the last. Once I connected the space, then a message came in from me. I can screenshot it and send it onto you. But it said at yesterday 5:50 p.m. it came join this conversation with me, and I only accepted it there a couple of minutes ago because it only came into me once I joined your space, and then your space went dead.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the implication, Kiro? You were saying there was 12, 13 speakers or whatever it is, and you saw 35. What kind of connections you said? What's the implication of
Well,
that?
they're theoretically, when you're at a speaker level, the connections coming into you should be just those. So UDP connections to the different speakers. I don't know what way the platform handles it. If I was doing it, the cleanest way would be to fire the connections out as a separate broadcast. But there shouldn't be 32 connections coming into me with 12 speakers. There should be 12. And it's I don't know what way the platform is written. I know there's open source, and I'll look into it a little bit better. I've been very busy in the last couple of days. Um, but I look a little bit better into it. But typically with networking, with say if you have a zip connection or if you have a multicast connection, you have the data connection which handles with say whatever that. Let me just I can actually look at it now because I have a secondary firewall set up here to handle this. So it's let me just look at the connection now. Just bear with me.
Monica, are you able to get Whiskey in here since he had some questions and
Yeah.
none of my invites will go out to people. So, Lex, go ahead.
Stealth, I just wanted to say, part of those so-called protesters, my feeling is that we are going to find the same faces in the anti-Trump and the anti-Republican protest too. So I think this is another war for us. This is another frontier.
I can guarantee you of that. You know what's really interesting, Monica, and I'm sure. Go ahead, Freemason. Sorry.
No, no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No. And I meant to go to Lex. Or I can't. Who was first, Freemason, then Lex? I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. Just if you guys get Grant again, I started talking with him yesterday
Well, can
in
you invite
Nelson's
him?
space.
Can you
Yeah, I
invite him?
will for sure. Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. What back in 2018, I was running an Israeli development firm out here in Williamsburg, and the Israeli bond market just totally dumped, and about 24 major companies took a dump in New York City. And right around that time, oil started shooting up, and of course, there's a lot of nefarious things happening. And what if you get Grant in? If I hop off, or I'll ask him when he comes in again. He self funds everything. He just bought a huge project in Michigan for like $160 million, and the company he bought it from had multiple partners. Which, of course, when that happens, it's the players shift. So, he's appealing, has his own money, and that's what happened with the Israelis is as well. But actually, in 2019, after that crash, all these Chinese firms came in and swooped up all the property, and I found that pretty interesting.
Ooh, does it have to do anything with Evergrande by chance? There's this property. There's this property crash going on in China right now. Just so you know.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while, for quite some time.
Yeah, they play the game. They've studied us very well. There's no gold left here, so of course they're tricking their market as well.
Kira, is your mic not working
No,
anymore?
it's still working. Sorry, I was just logging on to
Okay, good.
an enterprise
Okay,
firewall.
good.
So
Okay.
basically, what I've done, because it was happening in Irish spaces and it was annoying me a little bit, and then it happened on this space and it happened on one or two other jet space that I was on today. So what I did is I fired up a fairly hefty Cisco firewall. Because obviously when you have attacks coming in, what happens is that the firewalls or your router, whatever, gets overwhelmed because it can't handle so many connections at given connections once they start hitting the firewall. So you need, as we call it in the industry, grunt to deal with it. But I'm looking at at this moment in time, I have a connection in from 124.70, 190.43 coming into this particular device that I'm talking on at the moment. 1357, 237.51 is the Amazon cluster, and there's a load of other connections that are attaching to me at the moment. Now, you're peered through that cluster, so your IP's address aren't coming into me, but there's a load of stuff coming in. Other than this connection, and this machine is in a VMware. It's sitting on VMware, so it's specifically set up for this purpose. It has no other connections. It has no browsers, firewalls, anything. It's basically a sandbox, because I wanted to get to the bottom of this today. But I have like literally hundreds of connections coming in at this moment in time. I'm going to just take a screenshot at the moment, because I can look at the real-time traffic as my connection, because I'm up as a speaker. So it's really weird. It's nefarious, to say the least.
What kind of things, other than, if certain accounts have like threat tags on them or something to that effect, or warnings, could that affect it, or can somebody be pushing some type of a signal through?
It would have to be enacted. It would have to be to get your IP address to attack you. It would have to be on the platform, or access at least on the platform. There's two layers. There's a AWS platform, which is handling the audio traffic.
Okay. Here.
Yeah.
I have a friend for you here that's going to ask you a couple questions here. Whiskey's here, because he's been dying to know, and he couldn't get proper answers. So I'm just curious. There we go. Is there room for him?
Drop me down.
Drop me down.
Okay, so Whiskey, Kira is explaining in great detail what's going on. So you want to just quickly give him a real quick brief?
I can drop down if you guys need some extra space.
We're good right now.
Okay.
Are you there, Whiskey?
Well, what happened to Kira?
I'm still here.
Fuck.
Someone.
Oh.
Or at least I hope I am.
Yeah, you're here. And Whiskey, are you there? Okay. Kira, do you want to give him a quick little summary of what you just gave us? Because I didn't understand 90% of it. I wrote it down, but I didn't understand.
Yeah, it's fine. So there's multiple layers to the session. The session, when you open up a web browser, your device, whatever that device is connecting to HTTPS sessions for the GUI front end. So at present, I'm connecting to 54.214, 191.63. I'll take a screenshot of it. It's easier to do that. So I have multiple HTTPS sessions, which shouldn't be happening because this device is set up in VMware. Its only purpose in life is one HTTPS session to Twitter. Okay, so it's only one browser session to Twitter that I'm connecting over at the moment. The DNS, I'm getting DNS attacks coming in from both Pakistan, China, and interestingly enough, Ukraine at the moment. So they're trying to poison my DNS. I'm seeing that on the firewall. So bear in mind that this IP address that I'm using to connect at the moment, it's one of a /24 range, which I only enacted 4 hours ago. So no one will be aware that this /24 was available until 4 hours ago when I started connecting, and it has only been used for spaces. Only. So it's not even that I'm getting a port scan or someone's trying to name at me. It's specifically the only way that I've been illuminated is by connecting to a space under my Twitter account.
So you're saying you're being attacked via DNS
and multiple attacks. I'm being
space.
attacked over DNS. I have HTTPS requests coming in. I have requests on port 30605, 8031, 3081.
Okay, HTTP requests in are not uncommon, man. I mean, if you open up a web browser, you're going to have a whole bunch of HTTPS connections that are inbound.
Absolutely not. I disagree with you.
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I disagree with you on that now, because
so, like,
the reality of this fact is that I'm using Cisco high-end firewalls, and those firewalls use stateful packet inspection. So the reverse incoming traffic that is hitting my firewall is only established connections going out the way. So the only connection that I've established at this moment in time is to twitter.com. The IP address is 13.57.237.51. So there's no reason for any other.
Dude, are you aware of how a 3 and 4-way handshake works?
I'm aware of L7 and L3 routing because that's what I do. I'm a CCNA.
Okay, so you're gonna have HTTP connections inbound. Like, just go up and open up Edge. Anybody in here that's on their computer right now, just open up Edge. You'll see a whole bunch of
Sorry, can I just ask what the fucking agenda is here right now? Because I've asked Kira, who's a global expert, okay, and a decades veteran at law enforcement, government, and intelligence agency level. I don't fucking appreciate somebody I don't fucking know coming up on the
let me
fucking
educate
stage
you
and
who I am real quick.
I don't give a fuck who you are, okay? So if we want to have this conversation separately, we'll do it in private rather than in front of a whole fucking audience where somebody who's doing a favor, a solid for no money for me for this space is getting deconstructed by you to sound like you're the smartest fucker in the room. So
Bro, she
I'll take my
invited me
leave.
up.
You
She invited
go
me up, and
fucking
I'll
knock
tell you who I
yourself
am
out.
if you'll shut the fuck up for a
Give a fuck who you are, shithead, okay? I really don't give a fuck, okay? So right now, I'll tell you what we'll do. Kira, drop out of the space. I'm dropping too. Go over, use whiskey and his big dick to sort your shit out in future. Because we're fucking sick and tired of this deconstruction of free services, yeah? So that's it. Kira, drop out of the space. I want to give you a call right now, okay?
No,
Let them go fuck themselves. No, go fuck yourselves. Okay? Kira, drop out of the space. I want to see you drop before I drop and I want to call you.
Looks like you pissed off GP.
No, Kira was explaining stuff, and Whiskey had a question. I didn't know he's going to go after her or whatever, how it went, but it was just from the prior space. We're trying to wait for everybody to get back in here because the space crashed so many times. So,
Who is Whiskey?
Whiskey's here, but I mean, listen, there's been some weird disruption going on. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hey, well, that didn't go as well as I thought it would.
Did you just fart?
Okay, I don't know what's going on. I just don't know what's going on. Even Monica's gone. Can you get Monica back, Whiskey? Because I'm sure she was not. There has been weird stuff going on between Sphinx being gone and the chat stuff. There's so much drama, and I'm just doing like I'm not doing any of the drama. Like I just
So
doing my.
Stealth, let me ask you a question here, okay?
Yeah.
You had two guys that are quote unquote global IT experts and shit like that, and I come up in here for 2 seconds and question their fucking agenda, and then they both dip out into space. Come on, man. Like, they're blowing smoke up your ass. And like, listen, let me tell you guys something. Okay, I normally don't tell. Like, there's a few people on here that I communicate with, daily that know this. All right, but a lot of people don't know this. All right, remember last year when Mario Space and all these other big spaces had fucking mic problems, their mics flickering on and off, the co-host being booted down to listener, all this other shit. You guys remember Hunter Biden and his entire PR team getting booted from fucking Mario Space and Kim.com freaking out, oh my God, I'm being hacked, I'm being hacked. No, that was my exploit. I'm the fucking one that wrote that, and Twitter paid me a lot of fucking money for that bug. So when I sit there and I hear these assholes come up in here and say, oh, well, you're getting attacked in this space and looking at all this DNS traffic and shit like that, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. Because DNS is not going to affect just your fucking your VMware device. It's gonna affect your entire fucking home network. Like, just
Hey guys, hey, can we get back to the Hamas and
yeah, please. I'm
Israel
done. I'm gone.
conflict?
Bye.
No, I want. Yeah, he's by. Sorry, Whiskey. Keep going. What?
No, I'm done. Thanks.
No. I kicked him off. I don't. So. Okay. Can we? I'm going to send you a number.
I mean, like, so Stealth, look, I mean, I've connected to your space, and you know, you can, and if you go through my profile, you can actually see where I've explained how you can actually see this kind of shit. You know, I mean, I've
Yeah.
connected to your space, and I've looked, and every time I've seen a mic go off or mic not go off or someone booted down the listener, I'm not seeing anything nefarious. And you know, I
So
don't know.
what is it? What it like? For
It could
example,
just,
my
I mean,
whole
it could just be Twitter in general. I mean, and I heard the comparison, well, Mario's face isn't having this. Well, I think Mario's a little special. Maybe he's, you know, paying for an extra data plan or something on Amazon services and is getting more traffic to his whatever. I don't know. I don't know that situation, right? But I'm not seeing it just, I'm seeing what you guys are seeing in other spaces as well. I mean, I understand this is a hot subject and I could see where it could be confused as attacks and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. It could be attacked. It could not be. Right. But the thing is, though, is like, you know, what threw me off earlier is the guy saying that, like, oh, well, we've got internal traffic from Amazon. It's like, no, you fucking don't, dude. If you knew how network address translation actually works, like, congratulations, my guy. You just discovered a major fucking internal flaw with Amazon. You better go capitalize on that bug ASAP. That's not how networking works. And when I heard him say, oh, well, we've got internal network traffic. You're a fucking liar, dude. Like, there's no fucking way that he's got internal network traffic that routes somehow to where he's picking you up in Twitter spaces. He's blowing shit up your ass.
I find that most men try to blow shit up my ass, so that would not be a surprise for me today. Okay, so I'm like, so you know,
Well, I mean, Stealth, I mean, dude, they both left at the same time. Like, they both left. The minute I
it's
came
not
up
just
here,
that. It's like Piotr came in with Cardone and another one, and the space started glitching, and then Sin was here and then left when somebody else was coming. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm seeing patterns. I'm seeing psyops being run on my space. I'm not a dummy. Monica's gone. Sphinx is gone. Chet is gone. Somebody is intentionally making sure that whatever I'm communicating does not get communicated. I mean, I've got guys in the
Now you
space.
understand why I'm not co-hosting, not doing any kind of administrative issue.
I don't understand. What did you say? I can't. Thank God, Patrick and Monica are back and sane
Maybe I'll
people.
shut up and that's it.
I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're saying.
No, no, no. I don't know what I'm saying also.
Exactly. I think we've been running so many hours, and there's a there's just a narrative that I'm seeing here that is I've been seeing it for a while. I just didn't say anything, so I just stay quiet because I tend to talk too much because I'm an autist. So, but yeah, I think we should. Yeah. So whiskey he didn't dip. I and
no, the whole fucking little Irish prick fucking booted me down to listener before him and his boyfriend left. I mean, come on, man. Like, he could have at least let me up here or at least fucking debated with me a little bit. But no, he left like a little bitch. And, you know, honestly, that tells me a lot about a man. You know what I mean? Like, I came up here and he's sitting there saying, oh, well, you know, I've got all these HTTP requests in and I'm using state of the art, stateful inspection filtering firewalls. Dude, shut the fuck up because obviously your shit's not updated or you're doing something wrong here because you're gonna have internal HTTP and external HTTP requests no matter what. Like, the guy is full of shit. Like, I don't listen. I'm not a geopolitical expert like you guys are, but I'm gonna tell you one thing I'm very fucking good at, and that's IT programming, hacking, and shit. I've been doing it for a long time. I defaced my first website when I was 15 fucking years old. Right. So I mean, when I hear guys like this just talking out of their ass, yes, I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna confront them because it's bullshit. But that's all. I'm gonna drop down. You guys have a good day.
no,
Wait, wait,
don't
wait,
go
wait,
anywhere. Don't go
wait,
anywhere.
Whiskey. Wait,
Don't.
dude is panicky because there's HTTP connections? Did I catch that right?
Dude, he said that he was on a 24 fucking subnet. Like, 24 is a CIDR value for an internal
Yeah,
class C
yeah,
subnet.
no,
That's basically very standard.
no. I just
Like,
want to know because it sounds stupid, and I want to know if it's really that stupid.
yes, he said that he has a virtual machine that he's using in the space, and he's seeing all this DNS amplification traffic to just his VM, And then, he's seeing these internal HTTP requests that he doesn't know about. Well, no shit, dude. Like, it's the fucking internet. And if you actually fucking knew how how the three-way and four-way handshakes actually work, you fucking would understand why you have those those requests inbound. And then you're gonna sit there and say a DNS amplification attack's only attacked one VM. No, bro, it's gonna attack your entire home network because all that traffic's got to go to one endpoint. Like, what a fucking idiot.
I don't know what happened. He's a good guy,
Well,
but maybe he was a little
I'm
weird.
sorry. I got some IQ just hearing that, but thanks.
So listen, I'm not whatever hacker savvy, whatever, but GP has done amazing work going after certain people with amazing threads and spent hours and hours and hours on the spaces. So I'm like a loyal person all around. I don't know what's going on. I think there's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on a lot of people, and he's fighting huge battles in Ireland and the UK with these laws that are changing. So I'm never going to throw. Jesus Christ, okay.
So
I'm
I've
on my
heard GP. So look, I've heard GP talk a lot, right? And there's a lot of things that I've heard him say that I like. I'm not saying that I dislike the guy. I'm just saying that, like, you know, no one in here is an expert on everything. And this is like
yes.
this is what I'm like kind of
Whiskey,
getting
did
sick
you
of
not
with
know that I'm a
spaces.
submersible device expert? Did you not know I know about submersible submarines now? I mean, like, it's a joke. Come on. Like, yeah, there's people that are experts in certain areas,
I
but
mean,
yeah,
like this is the way I put it the other day, right? I mean, it's like with every big event, you've got all these big spaces, and now everyone becomes an expert in whatever it is. I'm like, dude,
right.
wait till NASA announces an asteroid coming. Everyone's going to be astronauts, or wait till they freaking announce extraterrestrial civilizations exist. Then everybody in these spaces is gonna be an intergalactic diplomat. I mean, it's complete bullcrap. And I'm not saying like I disagree with GP on everything. I'm just saying that what him and that other guy were saying was 100% false, and I challenged them on it. And look where they left. They left.
Well, Kira came back, but I'll say it again. GP has, and I know you've been listening, everybody's listening. The man has done tremendous work, threads going after putting his neck on the line. And I think that there's a lot of frustrations. We have been botted. My phones have turned on and off. Okay. I know what's going on. I've had like a
Whiskey,
few phones.
can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, go. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, Whiskey. You've been talking for the last 5 or 6 minutes. I've left the space, but you've been talking for the last 5
Who
or
am I
6
talking
minutes
to?
about a home network.
Who am I talking to?
Kira.
You're talking to Kira. You've been talking about CDIRs and everything else. If you had any fucking clue what you're talking about, I have /24s in 7 different countries, right? I have data centers in 7 different countries. I run one of the biggest radio stations on the planet where we have ingress connections from all over the world, right? I know what I'm talking about, okay? You're talking absolute horseshite, okay? It's not a home network. I have Cisco routers on the boundary. I run BGP, okay? I have multiple CDR networks, public address space. It's not internal address space. I have /24s in Ireland, UK, Sweden, South Africa, Germany, France. I also have address space
Dude,
in...
did you hold on? Did you just say that you have a public facing network with a CIDR value of 24? So you've got 24 public IP addresses reserved.
No.
Just for you.
A /24 is
telling everybody?
254 addresses. Broadcast is 254.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. 1 through 254. I get that. So
Yeah,
you're
I have
telling me that you've
/23s
got
as well
that
at
many
my
public IP
my thing.
addresses.
Do you perhaps want to have a separate kind of talk?
Absolutely not,
Yes,
because
please.
Whiskey is coming out with...
Let's have a separate one.
Whiskey is coming out with
Because honestly, man,
nonsense.
both of you guys left
Absolute
at the same
nonsense.
time. You're still talking.
Hold on. Let Kira finish, and then Whiskey can go. Kira, sorry, I just want to be respectful because I respect both of you from what I know of both of you, and I'm so confused, and I like to make peace. And I'm an only child. I don't like it when people fight, so I tend to just like gloss over things and try to get through. But I respect what Kira's done and provided me so much information, and GP like amazing. So and also Whiskey's always there for me. So I don't know what's going on. I just think that maybe we take a breath and let's refocus on some updates from Israel and military stuff, if that's okay. And
So
then
real quick, Stealth, I'm gonna
yes,
say something real quick, and then I'm gonna go ahead
sure.
and drop down. But
But
I'm as of right now, I'm the only person on this entire fucking platform that has actually submitted an actual hack for Twitter Spaces where I can control people's mics and actually hijack a fucking space. I'm the only person that's actually got a submitted documented exploit that proves this. I've still got all the proof of concept videos I have, and you know, all you have is a bunch of dudes talking like crap. I mean,
I don't know
Kara. I
anything
mean,
about this. This is it.
if you want the technical videos, I'll send them to you so you can see I'm not bullshitting you.
So this seems like a work call, like of experts that I have no concept about. So as I'm going to take a step back on that, and maybe let somebody else figure out how to move forward. I don't know what to say actually, so I'm gonna Monica, could you help me
Yeah,
out here, or
sure.
Patrick?
So here's what's going to happen. Whiskey, I invited you into this space because I've known you to have a particular set of skills, and Stealth asked for you to return. Yes, tensions are high. GP has been known to be an ally to the space and to others, Kira as well. I am no expert on hacking. Clearly, neither is Stealth. But what I don't want to happen is this devolution into confusion where people have no idea, if we're being hacked, if we're not, who knows. But I left the space earlier because you are a friend of mine and I respect you and you've been an ally. And I don't know whose mic is open still. Do you mind muting your mic, or Kira, one of you? It's super loud. Thanks. Yeah, and I'm just not, I don't like people cussing at each other, calling each other names. It's just unnecessary. I know the tensions are high, but you know what? It's just disrespectful to the entire space. I don't care who you are. So, and I don't really care what you've brought to the space up to this point. If you cannot come in and address people with some level of civility, then it's probably better that you take a break from the space and Twitter. That's just my personal opinion. And I'm not talking to you, Whiskey. I appreciate you.
Well,
Or
look, that being
Kira,
said, Monica, I
or
do
Kira.
listen. So hold on. That being said, I am gonna apologize to Kara for coming off as an asshole, but I'm saying like when I hear the wrong thing being spoken, I'm gonna say something whether or not
Okay,
you agree with me or do not.
cool.
So apologies, Kara, but I am gonna drop.
All right, Whiskey, thank you. Appreciate it. So we did bring, God bless Andrea.
Patrick
Well, we did bring, yeah, well, Andrea, we'll get to you in just a moment. Thank you for your patience. I do
and
want to get to
Kira,
Patrick.
thank you for coming back, and I thank you. I
Stealth,
thank
would you like a
everybody.
second? Would you like a second co-host or not?
Yep, I said Patrick the co-host, so it was stuck with him. He may not want to co-host after this whole experience, and he may just want to fucking go to Cabo. So,
Right. Don't we all?
but
Yeah. So whoever you want to have co-host, I will need to
okay,
exit in the not so distant future. Anyway, but
sure.
guys, thanks for hanging in there in the space. Tensions are high. You all know that. We're all adults, and so yeah. So back to the
We're at
regularly
war.
scheduled
Yeah,
program. Patrick.
we're in war right now all over the world. So, Patrick, go ahead.
Oh, is there something specific you wanted me to comment on, Stealth?
Okay, yes. Oh boy, it's like okay. What is going on right now in terms of this? Russian plane, and then what are you hearing going on in Lebanon, because they're now forward facing the Hezbollah there. Anything that you can see is of concern, and also
Good morning, Vietnam.
Lebanon, in Jordan, there is major issues in Jordan, and I don't know if I can DM you privately, but somebody sent me some stuff a little sooner than it's publicly been addressed. So I just want to know how bad it's going to be with the American and Israeli embassies all over the world. And we're seeing already insurgents that attacked Chabad House in Europe, and it's getting pretty aggressive and it's ramping up. And the temperature went from nothing, really nothing, to about 127 degrees. So just curious your thoughts on that.
Well, as usual, we can blame a completely amoral Western media for uncritically believing Hamas propaganda, spreading all over the planet, and then only very slowly walking it back. So now half the world thinks that the IDF bombed a hospital, when in fact it appears that they had a rocket strike hit in the parking lot. Some cars caught on fire. The video evidence taken in daylight. It shows very little shrapnel damage to the building. It blew out a few windows. There is very little human debris on the ground, which should tell you 500 people did not die in that parking lot.
That's right.
There's
It
no
would have
human
taken
debris on the
at least
inside,
2
on the
days.
forward-facing rooms.
It would have taken at least 2 to 4 days to remove the bodies, properly package, identify them, take pictures of them, process them. You're not going to and put them in a refrigerator. Whatever they brought out were bodies from internally in their fridge. There's a cemetery in the back of that building structure.
Right, but Steph, my point is, even if you do the most slipshod job of just carting them all off before you take that video, there is still going to be a great deal of evidence remaining. You'd see blood everywhere. You'd see pieces of people everywhere. There's virtually no shrapnel damage on the front-facing rooms. The windows have been blown out. You're not seeing any bodies or evidence of blood in there. They didn't. Whatever hit the parking lot, it didn't impact the hospital.
Correct.
With any serious amount of force. But again, American media just goes with it uncritically. BBC did it too. They're getting roasted today over this. And so now that part of the world, which is being the Middle East and its diaspora across the planet, which is already predisposed to believe the worst about Israel, immediately picks this up and runs with it. And of course, now you got riots across the world. They're storming U.S. and Israeli embassies. You got cops from, a dozen different countries out there trying to keep order. And yeah, that has the potential to get very, very bad. Will it? I don't know. I don't think anybody who tells you they do know is lying to you, just like yesterday. It has the potential to get very bad, and it depends on how this is handled. And for a lot of people who are really incensed about this, nothing you say at this point is going to convince them that what they heard first isn't true, because what they heard first confirms the biases they already had. And, this is why so many people castigate the American media. And it wasn't just the Americans on this one, but ours were particularly egregious. And rightly so.
Has anyone retracted, Patrick? Did I miss your statement? Has anyone retracted the media?
I have not seen any official retractions. I posted this morning, the New York Times subtly changed their headline like 3 times in the space of a few hours because they understood that they had just walked themselves into a journalistic bear trap. I think CNN did the same, a few others. The pictures of their various headlines have been floating around all day. But
Patrick,
I haven't seen...
real quick, Patrick, even their latest Times, even their latest headline just says, "Oh, Israelis and Palestinians are pointing fingers at each other," as when their original assertion was quite clear of what they were blaming it on, and now they're like, "Oh, who can tell?" It's like, who can tell? These things are so unclear. You don't think it was unclear? I'm asking rhetorically. You don't think it was unclear? 40 minutes into the attack or 2 hours into the attack? These people are ridiculous.
Yeah, the initial headline was Israeli airstrike kills 500 people at a hospital or something like that. But yeah, I have not yet seen anybody, and if people have seen it, that's great. They should do this. Nobody has come out and said, we screwed up, we didn't have sufficient evidence, and we were wrong. I have not seen anybody say that. And I don't expect to, frankly, not out of the major outlets. Some of the others might do it. Some individuals might do it, but I doubt the major outlets will really do an actual mea culpa.
So in regards to Jordan, really quickly, and let me just pull up my notes here. Charlie, did you get a DM from Sin about a specific topic? Okay.
Let me look.
So, yeah. By the way, my account publicly it says details not available on the Twitter space. So this is the information that I received. Let me slide down here. Okay. The king of Jordan is apparently under extreme pressure about the displacement of the Palestinians. There seems to be several counter narratives going on regarding the pressure there. And then because of the amount of pressure, these countries, including Turkey, are allowing people to, damage embassies, attack embassies, and all that. Patrick, historically, when you've seen a coordinated attack like this across the entire world, this ground surge, I would call it, a ground, sorry, I'm so distracted because I'm so upset about before. But anyways, this ground game that's going on could not have been done within a period of 9 days or 10 days like you see everywhere in the world. I mean, we know they're well organized in terms of all the protests and everything, but this narrative and these call to arms and this call to jihad and everything seems overly prepared, in my opinion. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I would, without knowing enough about that, I would just say this: there are a great many, people who originate from the Middle East who have now spread across the world, who don't need to be told to riot outside a U.S. or an Israeli embassy when something like this happens. So I would hesitate to ascribe.
There's an organic component on that end, but in terms of the leadership creating these narratives and the posturing of Islamic Republic of Iran, and now they're opening up a second front in Lebanon. If they're going to go towards Lebanon first, what does that look like? I mean, what is and how many people do you need for that when everybody's down in the south, essentially?
They're not going to go for Lebanon first. They can't. They've got to do this thing one at a time. Well, they will probably do this thing one at a time. I will say that is usually the way Israel operates when it's faced with a multi-front war. They hold on one side and they basically annihilate the other, and then they shift forces. If they have to do a sustained ground campaign in Gaza, that's going to be very manpower intensive. They've got what appears to be a heavy blocking force up north to deal with basically anything that comes out of Lebanon. I would expect them to hold in the northern up north, and they will deal with whatever they need to deal with in Gaza. And then as that settles down, you might see actual incursions into Lebanon. But in theory, that is what we're now parking 2 carriers south of Cyprus for. We'll see if that means anything, but in theory, we would be providing the Israelis air support at a minimum if Hezbollah were to actually join in this thing. So far, we've seen sporadic exchanges of fire, and it's on the grand scale, it's mostly harassment action.
Okay.
Obviously, we've seen some fence lines cut, we've seen some tanks shot at, we've seen some artillery go overhead, but it's mostly harassment fire. If Hezbollah gets into this in a real way, you're going to see thousands of rockets pouring out of Lebanon.
And what are the range of those rockets? And because people have given very large numbers, which is highly concerning. And
they can hit all of Israel,
except for the very south.
Except for the very south.
Very south, and they can reach there between 75 to 75 seconds. Tel Aviv is 75 seconds. So
but Jerusalem?
Jerusalem's in the same range. It's I think they're about 80 seconds, 85 seconds a morning.
But the U.S. would step in, or is the Iron Dome or the beam or whatever other interesting military tech that Israel may have to pull out? Would that be sufficient?
I can let Patrick talk about this, but my personal view is that this is not something that the Iron Dome has had to face before, and this is one of their biggest fears. That's why they hit so many of these PGMs coming across during the Syrian civil war. And so this is a major fear of theirs. It's very concerning. And then everybody talked about the tunnel network in Gaza. I mean, gosh, just the south of Lebanon has been so fortified, and we saw the results after the 2006 33-day war. So it's scary. Patrick, I don't know if you have anything to add
But
about
would
the.
any one of you say that they have more ground troops or anything? I mean, they have rockets, obviously, but would there be any effects on the ground, clearly, from Hezbollah side?
Yeah, they've got 100. They've got roughly. See, Syria. When they got involved in Syria, they really got their asses handed to them. They lost about a third of their fighting force, uh, but now they're estimating they're back up to their about 100,000, about 100,000 to 120,000. Those numbers vary. That's their fighting group that they will say, but it's hard to put actual numbers to these individuals because I've even tried mapping out the IRGC and their deployments and their numbers and how they organize, and they don't organize along the same Western model that we have. So it's really hard to track these groups.
So with the deployments that Israel have as a defense force, would they be able to handle an oncoming force on the ground?
I think that would be the whole. I mean, if I'm Nasrallah and I'm given the order, and this is what I would expect is similar to what we saw with the Hamas, is an aerial barrage followed by multiple breaches with ground components, infantry. So yeah, but that's if they decide to. It's not if they decide. It's if the Islamic Republic tells them to. Hezbollah has a lot to lose, but they also have a lot to gain. And I've said from the beginning, I really do think this is about a war about the extinction of Israel, especially. It's not localized. This is global now. We see all the protests everywhere, spreading to all the Arab Spring nations, all across the Maghreb, all MENA, Europe, you name it. I've got people in France who are very concerned, who are Iranians and speak out against the regime. They're getting targeted. This is scary stuff, and people need to wake up to it.
Okay. So in regards to what you just said, and then I have a question for Patrick. Who was in the space that was talking about? Oh, it was it Intel Schizo or no, Mr. Pickle. Can you get me Mr. Pickle, Charlie, real quick? Is that okay? Can you get him
Yes,
for me?
and please check your DM if you wouldn't
Yes.
mind.
They were tracking shipments and flights yesterday and today back and forth, and maybe somebody else can refresh my memory because I need a lobotomy after today's drama. They were tracking shipments that went through Benghazi and then came down to Damascus and then left. I think you were there, Adrian, when that person was discussing it. Do you remember the routes? Or if anybody else wants to jump in.
I don't quite remember the routes. I mean, there's multiple smuggling routes, and when I was on the last concerning thing I heard was of the Russians bringing in hypersonic missiles to a forward deployed place. That's kind of where I dropped off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it sounds crazy. Okay. So, and then there was that one flight that had gone 3 times that somebody told us about that was detecting nuclear submarines. That was another interesting little storyline, Patrick. So just in general, for some of us who have a lot of American kids in Israel right now, and some of us who are about to take flights or took flights already or have already almost landing, we know a lot of people are going over there. What does that airspace safety look like, Patrick? And also, what are the concerns that the IRGC are actually going to do something? And then in addition to that, this whole little ISIS skirmish in Syria is one thing, but I know that the Israelis hit twice, maybe 3 times that airport because they were trying to bring something in. But I think me and Adrian had discussed this historically. It was just a small crater size, and I thought maybe it was a tunnel system or something. We're not really sure what they were trying to hit there. I can't remember any specifics. Maybe Vaughn remembers. But, I mean, clearly they're trying to get resupplied. And the Iranians are bringing it in. So I don't know if Kira wants to say anything or if Patrick, you want to jump in. Anybody jump in on that?
Yeah, just one little thing. there's a user here that's on the panel. They're using Starlink. I'm not going to put out the IP address, okay? But if that user wants to contact me directly, I'll give them their IP address. I'll also give them all the other information that's associated with them. It's not proving a point here. All it is I'm saying this is what I do for a living.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, so I'm going to give the end address. Whoever wants to look it up, it's .246. So if you want to, what's my IP? .246. How do I have that information? That's all I'm going to say. So I don't bullshit. I've offered my stuff here. I've set up a proxy for some of the other groups tomorrow to hopefully avoid this information. If that person wants to DM me, it's 15.246. I'm not going to give the rest of the subnet out. There's also people connecting from Chopa. There's people connecting from VPNs. Not alone do I have their VPN information, but I also have their subnet information behind the VPNs. Now, if you want, and if you give me your consent, I'll publish the whole lot to you. But that would be dangerous for the parties involved. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not trying to say I'm the best person on the planet ever, but this is what I do for a living every day of the week. And I'm only up out of the hot zone. I'm only up out of the hot zone. I flew up last night through Cyprus. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you, Kira, so much. Take care of yourself and be safe. And thank you for everything you've done and for being so classy. Thank you. Okay. We're in... I'm speechless today, but thank you.
Have you checked your DMs yet, Stealth?
Yeah, so check your DMs and let's go to some hands and we'll
Please.
just kind of let you regroup for a few minutes. Okay, cool. Andrea, let's go to you first, hon.
Thank you so much. First, housekeeping. If you could type a quote, share the space, get it out. We're not sure if it's being shadow banned or hidden or whatever the terms are. I'm not IT. And we appreciate it, but everybody in this audience. Second point, and I'm glad you're here, Monica. You know a lot of Congress people. I doubt we'll get this from the president, but we need more people to speak up and speak loud. The president is speaking tomorrow, and just about an hour ago, he came out with a message that said pretty much the vast majority of the Palestinian people do not represent Hamas. In my opinion, and I put a post out there that this is not acceptable. This is not an acceptable response by President Biden. Depending on the analyst, we have 60 to 90% of Palestinians who are radicalized, support Hamas, BDS, and world jihad to reach their ultimate goal. Again, and world jihad, and they want a caliphate. They want to take over the entire world. In my opinion, again, this is not the appropriate response from the president. So I'm asking you, Monica, with your connections in regards to elected officials, and Jim, he has tons of connections. We need to get this message out somehow, some way. I really don't have that much hope based on everything that we've seen going on that President Biden will stand stronger in respect to what I am saying at this moment in time. But the more people we get out there to do it, maybe things will shift in the future. The second thing I wanted to say is that it works. We need to report the people that are spreading incitement on this platform. I did it. I got a response, and they did an actionable item to correct it. I posted that for you. I'm encouraging everyone in the audience that knows who we're speaking of, because we really don't mention those names too much, that follow those accounts, not only the big ones that do the spaces, but our elected representatives, our so-called patriots, anyone that is putting out information that appears to be insightful. Now, when you do that, you need to copy that link, put it in there, and tell X why you believe that they're inciting that this is inciting violence. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Good stuff. Yeah, I will absolutely use and probably lose. Um, you know, sadly, Congress, I think, clearly has their hands full at the moment with the speakership. So, and many of them are using that current stalemate, as it were, as a little bit of what I perceive to be um, a invalid to me excuse for why they are not coming out a bit more public about what's happened in their own house today. So some have, others are a little bit weary of taking that on. And honestly, if I thought Biden was actually running the country, then that would make more sense to me. But to actually get a message across. But I think there are a lot of very interesting things happening in our nation right now, and I will do my part. I will continue to do my part to reach the people that I have influence with. And thank you for that, Andrea. And thank you so much for your patience. You're always so patient. I appreciate you. Anastasia, welcome.
Thank you. I have a lot to say. I haven't said very much on these spaces, but the first thing I wanted to do is address what Andrea said. Thank you for mentioning that. I think it's really hard to pick the right, um, you know, to decide which one to pick, because the last few that I've reported have not been, they haven't taken them down. They said that they don't meet what I've chosen. So you have to be really careful what you choose. So with Rashida Tlaib, or should I say the name, or whoever else, um, it's, what would you suggest would be the best choice? And then I just have a few things I want to say after that.
Are you asking Andrea what she thinks the best choice would be?
Yeah,
Okay,
because
go ahead,
what
Andrea.
I've chosen hasn't worked. So there's like two, like one would be incitement, but then you'd have to prove that they're actually inciting it. But we all know that even just posting like reposting Hamas propaganda is inciting violence. And so, but there's really no category for that, because people are jumping on breaking news and they don't know the history of what's gone on in Israel whenever there's a war. It's the same old story where there's propaganda. They shoot rockets from populated areas, from hospitals, from schools. They're then the victim becomes the perpetrator. Israel was the victim, and somehow it's all turned around now. And
Um, and maybe Charlie, actually Charlie's mic is open. Maybe you can speak to this, but I know for me personally, so there's several ways to skin a cat, right? And so if you're not going to be able to prove it through the incitement process or category, then clearly you are being targeted for your ethnicity, your religious beliefs, the fact that you're a female. I mean, listen, you got to get creative, just like and I mean this from the standpoint of being serious. I'm not talking about just reporting accounts that you think are ridiculous, but when there's actual incitement and propaganda, which I hate to break it to everyone, but we do have the Smith-Mundt Act, which absolutely, unless you unequivocally someone is saying, we need to go bomb blah blah, and we're going to be here at 2 p.m. tomorrow to do such. That is a very obvious incitement, right? Well, unless you're a Trump supporter, and then I guess then it's up for grabs. But so I would suggest that you try a number of approaches when it comes to dealing with Twitter. And clearly, they do not have a safety, whatever the Trust and Safety Commission is. I don't think that is clearly in place here on this platform at the moment. So it's a bit of a free for all. And so I would just, caution you all about it is horrible. Patrick came in, on fire about that. And I've seen him kind of battling that throughout the day with the dis and misinformation campaigns. You know, a lot of you say Twitter's not real, right? Twitter's not real life. And I would beg to differ with you. You know, ask our embassy, you know, men and women who are stuck in foreign countries right now with people trying to beat down and burn them out of their embassies. Twitter is real life, right? And so it feels like it can't touch us, but it does. So I would just encourage you to continue to report those accounts that are very overtly, you know, violently driven, and do so in a myriad of ways. There's many ways to approach that, and also, you know, take your peace during this time. I mean, I really mean that sincerely. We've had fights in this space today. I hear it in other people's spaces. People are just at their wits' end. People who are otherwise allies. You know, I mean, it's and this is kind of the point in all of this, to be honest with you, to create more fracture and fissure amongst all of us. So I think it's just important to, you know, um, to commit to yourself and resolve what your intentions are going to be online, and stick with those whenever you're navigating through these spaces. And I see Kira's mic is open. Kira, I'm going to mute your mic for
Can
just.
I just finish, Monica, what I
Yeah,
was going to
absolutely,
say?
Anastasia. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is that, you know, being a Jewish woman and living in Israel and living with soldiers in Israel, and I made a film with some people on the Israeli Air Force and 48 Air Force, and I know people personally. I know high up people personally, and you know, we're not a very large group of people on this planet, and you know, if they were to do anything to Israel, you know, we would leave us with like half the amount that we have right now, and it feels very scary to be in a world without, you know, as a Jewish person, that country represents, you know, a protector of us, and you know, after the Holocaust, when it was, you know, established at 48, the modern Israel, you know, everybody felt very relieved. You know, so just to see what's happening right now, it's, I mean, it's the same thing that always happens every time there's a war. Israel goes in to retaliate, then they're told they have to pull out, and they can't finish the job. They want to finish the job this time to get rid of Hamas. Now, I don't have anything. I know some Palestinian people are nice people, and they love Israel. Actually, some of them are Israeli Arabs as well, and it's really Hamas that is the enemy of the people. But they don't talk about that. People don't understand it. There's a lot of people, you know, just taking the propaganda and just retweeting it. And then that creates huge, massive consequences. That's what we've seen with the embassies and everything. From that one piece of propaganda about the hospital, and everybody just jumping on it, and even people that we know that we like doing that. And I tried to tell them, you know, this is their playbook. When they fire rockets from hospital schools, you know, they know that Israel's going to try not to. They're not out to get civilians. Everyone in here knows this. I think they really are trying very hard to target just the areas that they have to take out. And unfortunately, because it's a densely populated area, these things happen. But the only thing that's really worse now than it's ever been, because I've been watching this for 20 years now, and I know the playbook. Okay, it's the same old shit. And then we have Congress people who are doing it. Like one of them retweeted the picture of the babies wrapped in shrouds, and that picture was actually from Syria or something a few years back. I've seen them post pictures of massacred families, and they forgot to leave out the fact that there was a mezuzah on the door in the picture. So it was actually a Jewish family in the Mumbai attack from years ago that they said this is a Palestinian family that the Israelis massacred. So this is, you know, a common thing. A lot of us know about it, but a lot of people here don't know the history of it all. And it's very frustrating to see people that I know and I respect just jumping on these things or retweeting them and causing, you know, fear for Jewish people. I'm fearful. You know, I have a mezuzah on my door. and just seeing the violence and the destruction that it could create. So that's what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Anastasia, I want to
Sorry
answer
about
your
that.
question. You what we need to do is be very specific. You were very specific right now as far as explaining that video and what was wrong with it. So go through the different selections within the reporting structure and then be very specific as to why you're reporting it and why you think it's inciting violence or it's attacking a certain religion, etc. The one that I did was specifically on the hospital also. And what they said in that post was that it was the Zionist, I don't remember exactly, but it was the Zionist Israelites that like to murder our people, something along that line. So we need to be very specific as to why we think they're inciting violence or attacking a specific religion. If it takes a couple reports, one on inciting violence and a second one on attacking a religion, then do both. I have not been successful on every report, but I have been successful. And I'm here to encourage everybody, please continue to do it. It needs to be done. These people need to at least minimum stop what they're doing at this moment. So thank you. I really appreciate you coming up.
Yeah,
And
thanks, Andrea. I think it's really important to pick the right one. And I just tried to do one and I'm looking. There isn't really one for just retweeting propaganda. I mean, you can't, if people are tweeting out these pictures, and I happen to know, even I've seen those pictures before. I used to work for an organization called Camera. They were a media watch for Israel. So I know this has been going on, since 2000, when the Janine thing happened. And I saw what went on there and how they make it look like Israel's the aggressor when it's really the other way around. Israel's just, that's why they're called the Israel Defense Force, IDF. It's the defense because they don't usually just go in and attack people for no reason. It's usually a retaliation. And this time, they don't want anyone telling them they can't finish the job. But what I'm saying is, so if someone just retweets, and I knew right away when they said that Israel had hit a hospital, I thought it was either a complete mistake or they were targeting something else. But it now turns out that the hospital wasn't even hit at all. It was a parking lot. And they had doctors out there lying and talking about that it was the hospital. And then everything turned from people feeling bad for Israel and for all the victims of what the terrorists did, to now back to the Palestinians. So, and then we're seeing the whole uprising. So when it's just like retweeting something that I know is an old photograph of some other country, you can't really, there's nowhere to report that. There's nothing that says propaganda promotion or something like that. So you have to be
Well,
really careful.
I
Yeah.
think Andrea has some good pointers, and you two may want to connect, on DM as well. And anyone
one
else
more,
got a
Okay.
one more
Thank
question?
thing.
you. Thanks.
One more thing.
Okay.
What you can do, Anastasia, or anyone in this room, if you're qualified to do community notes, at minimum, community note that post. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to kind of move along in the space. I'm going to have to depart here soon, but I know many of you have excellent points to make, and thank you for your patience. I think Former was first, and then we'll go over to Daniel. Daniel, I'm glad you were able to make it back with us.
Yes, has anyone seen the video of Mia Khalifa getting corrected by a Muslim that said, the Muslim person said, sorry, Mia Khalifa, that Israel's been around for 3,000 years, not just since 1948.
I did not see that.
Please share it, but it's a good one. She's a dumbass.
Okay, excellent. Hey, Daniel, since you're up next, would you like to tackle that?
Did I see the video of this guy taking down Mia Khalifa? Yeah, I saw. I think the first half of it. It's good. I think it might have been the same guy who was in a space a couple nights ago or whatever. Time blurs for me. Yeah, there was a good I think Emirati who took down Mia Khalifa and her like silliness. If the Palestinians want to put a porn star as their representative in the Holy Jihad, fine. I'll take her as the spokesperson. If that's what it's going to be, I'd rather fight her than like Javad Zarif or someone like that. Yeah, I'm going to make a point on the fighting of the bad guys and the reporting people. Listen, I'm all on team fight bad guys. I advocate for it a lot. Just this is sort of unsolicited advice from someone who does this. If you're going to be doing this, it is like a pretty toxic thing in a game of whack-a-mole. Try and spend more of your energy on the truth than you do on lies. So yes, there are nefarious actors who need to be, defeated and like taken down. I understand that. Trust me. But my advice to the crowd would be, if you go on that, try and spend when you do this like more time on the truth and like what is happening than what is not happening. If that makes sense. And I think, and I'm not accusing anyone of not doing that. I just want to sort of help make that point in case anyone's struggling with a bit of like mental fatigue just going down. I would advise, hey, instead of like being mad at all the lies and whatever, just push out what the truth is and like make your point and like get that out there and like find support for something good. Yeah, so it's my 2 cents on that. Thank you for letting me speak.
Absolutely. Good point. Does anyone else have any breaking news? I think I just saw Chet down in here. Chet, if you had something to contribute, by all means, come on up. And Kara, did you have something? I know I muted your mic earlier because I couldn't hear. But did you have anything in stealth? If you're back, go for it. Okay, everybody's going to be quiet now. Guess what Adrian?
Monica, you saw what I wrote to you in the back channel?
Well, listen, I've got 10,000.
No, in the back channel.
Oh, got it. Okay, give me just a moment. Okay, Adrian, we have like a lot of new people. Would you like to kind of maybe keep people, get people up to date from perhaps even 30 minutes ago?
Wow, that's a tough order. Okay. Thanks for putting that on my plate. So, what we've been looking at is there's obviously what's going on inside Israel, the campaign, what's going to happen inside Gaza. We've been looking at the northern border with Lebanon. We've been looking at the other borders with movement, with possible mention of hypersonic missiles being moved into the area by Russia. So in the region, we've been examining all these little developments. We've been debunking the theories, and especially the whole one about the IDF or IAF hitting a hospital when we know it was Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and how difficult that is. Once you squeeze that toothpaste bottle, you can't put it back in, and no one is retracting it. So we discussed that, and then how that fuels into the much larger narrative that's going globally. Because just as we saw, probably, I hate to use this comparison because this is much bigger and a much wider scale, the Benghazi, the so-called video that was made and that was peddled by Susan Rice on the different talk shows and whatnot as being the flashpoint that caused Benghazi. They caused, if people are unaware, our Egyptian Cairo embassy to be overrun, and the person that was running that entire operation was Zawahiri's older brother. So it's starting to look like that type of situation where the flashpoint for this is not a fake video that someone put out there, that somebody put out there and is inspired and set the whole Muslim world ablaze. What they are using is this bombing of this hospital that was a terrorist attack by is it like double, triple war crime by Hamas or PIJ firing it, hits down And obviously, we see the result of that, and it's been a massive propaganda campaign that has lit the world on fire. So this is the flashpoint that they're using. I think that's kind of where we were, and
Cool.
in the United States, we see how that has merged really well with the in the university campuses, and then with the the downtrodden, the oppressed, the Marxist Communist Manifesto readers that imbibe this stuff and actually believe it. So that's my take on this. Sorry.
Thank you. Stealth is actually back with us
I'm
now,
here,
and
guys.
yeah, so I just want to say thank you,
And
and
thank you
Patrick, yeah,
for being a
sure.
consummate professional. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Patrick, thank you for making your way in here. I appreciate it. I've seen you bouncing around all day. If you guys are not following Patrick, you should. He's got a great Substack as well. Support his efforts. And in closing, I would just say, and Andrea, thank you for all of, you're just so steadfast, and thank you for being a great resource for us, actually. And to the rest of you who are just great resources, and you see things and you say something, and I appreciate it. Again, I can't stress enough for everyone to take your piece, right? And to just have resolve before you come into the ecosystem of Twitter, that that you're going to keep your peace, you're going to take your piece. And it is sad because you're seeing some things that people don't really want to see about people they've respected and they thought were allies or they thought were friends, and it hurts. And really, after this fog of war, everyone's going to have to contend with the grief of all of that. So I'm encouraging people in my audience to mitigate that. Hang out with your family, your friends, touch grass, create times for family suppers, dinners, meals, communion, however it is you fellowship. Create those moments now more than ever. Not in fear, but because you still have a life to live even in the middle of all of this. And Stealth, our prayers are with your son. I know this has been very, very trying for you, and you have kept this space open since the beginning. There have been a lot of challenges, and we may not have 25,000 people, but what we do have is the truth. And so I'm very proud to be a part of that. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Monica. Just such a beacon of light, and also just so stable for me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, just a little reset there. Thank you. Everybody's going to start to jump in. Let me just, Daniel, what are you seeing internationally wise? I'm going to bring up Adrian if he's interested in co-hosting with me for a bit. Not going to keep the space going very long, guys, tonight. It's been a really, I think, intensive week and a half. So we're just trying to, travel and get out of where I'm at right now and get on the road for certain things. So, Daniel, internationally, what are you seeing? You've seen the attacks in the synagogues, in the Chabad, and embassies and synagogues and stuff like that. I think my biggest concern is some type of event occurring, and I'm very concerned internationally and domestically, both for American citizens. I mean, I believe the embassies have told everybody to get out of Turkey. I think there's problems in Cyprus. It's very interesting what's going on geopolitically, and I think where a lot of us are on alert and we're on the edge, but I think for good reasons. I just wanted your opinion on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately it's what I predicted, like right as this happened. I mean, I'm not surprised by any of this really. It's going to be bad, and I've been taking the line saying that all Jews have kind of been drafted into the war. Like they declared days of jihad globally, and people are answering the call. And you see what they're chanting on the streets. You think that the people in Sydney, Australia, who chanted "Gas the Jews," have had a come to Jesus moment and realize the error of their ways. And so yeah, it's going to be bad. A lot of our governments are incompetent. It's the same ones that were incompetent, on October 6th. They haven't gotten any better. The ones that are bad. But it's sort of up on us to stop this. And I don't know. Today was, in my view, I launched Operation Mock the Jihad. I, some of you know me. I was a comedian before I was a news person. So work with some friends, and there's some good there's some good content coming out that I think will do this, because yeah, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle once the lie spreads, but if you can mock the people who believe it afterwards. I'm pretty good at annoying Islamists. So you know, it's what I predicted, right? There's going to be a global uptick in violence against Jewish people, and those seem to support them. There'll be attacks on Iranians, Hindus, any Chinese groups that side with Jewish people or whatever. Like it's going to be, it's going to be bad, but for how bad it's going to be, like it's not as bad as I thought it would be when I predicted the doomsday scenario. Like there's a lot more right-minded people. I think the mask came off too quickly for Hamas and their supporters. I think enough people saw behind it. And yes, while there might be a torrent of Hezbollah boosted accounts that can gain lots of attention here and there and push things, but you know, it's not nothing. I'm not dismissing like the rallies we're seeing as nothing. But I think a lot of us aren't surprised, and that's kind of my rule with Jewish activists. Like, how serious are they? How seasoned? If they're surprised that someone in the Liberal Party, look, they said this at the conference and they're blaming Israel for the, yeah, like, hello, where have you been? So yeah, there's going to be attacks on synagogues. There's going to be violence. There's going to be all this. It's up to us to make the case to stop this and fight it on our streets and push politicians actually into action and also push our own Jewish organizations, for in Canada, CIJA has Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau on the anti-Semitism conference after Jagmeet Singh went in Parliament and accused Israel of sowing the seeds of genocide in Parliament. What the fuck are we doing? So yeah, it's bad. Like, wake the fuck up, everyone. Like, the same people who've been yelling "kill, kill, kill" for years are still yelling "kill, kill, kill." Um, all that being said, though, there's a lot more people in real life who sawed the mask off. And listen, the Palestinians, all of them are brainwashed and down a rabbit hole already, and they're loud. But I think there's enough people watching and have seen a first Palestinian major lie be debunked. Like, a lot of people have seen how the Palestinian propaganda network works. Oh, they said 1,000 people dead. It was a parking lot. How do they do that? What's going on? Like, blah blah blah. And the media, how many people were distrustful of the mainstream media but had this notion that the Jews controlled the media? And now they see the mainstream media and the UN, the organizations they've been railing against for years, doing ridiculous shit vis-a-vis Israel and Hamas. So it's a night is darker but darkest before the dawn kind of moment for me, because I'm not surprised by any of this. I'm horrified. That's why I left stand-up comedy to start doing the fucking news and shit, because the fabric of society was not doing well back in 2015, 2016. So yeah.
Well, I think you're great at it. I think we need you more here. You can do comedy hours some other time, but I think it's important. I want to say that there's activity now in the West Bank, just so you know. I just wanted to give you that update. Somebody sent that over to me. Thank you, Samuel.
In the city of Calkilia.
Yes. Yes.
I have that here. Yeah, fighting is ongoing tonight within the city of Calkilia in Judea and Samaria in the West Bank between IDF troops and Palestinian terrorists. Israeli reinforcements and armored vehicles have been seen heading toward the city. That is seems more of the regular type of stuff, although it might be a slightly elevated version of it, but notable in light of all the other fronts going on, obviously.
What kind of concern is there if the West Bank starts to gear up? Patrick or Adrian or anybody on the stage, or I don't know if maybe former homeless conservative.
Well, it's very concerning because that's your backyard, and that's an area where supposedly the Georges are supposed to be policing that area. These are reasons why Blinken is cozying up to him, saying they're going to send more money to Mahmoud Abbas or Abu Mazen, whatever the hell you want to call him these days. this is a major problem because what they're doing is it's a constant balancing act. Can we see it here? That they're constantly trying to keep Israel off balance here, as well as the United States. So it's just a constant balancing act. When you think one thing's going to happen, they flare up somewhere else. It's just testing the perimeters, testing, seeing what they can get away with, seeing what the response is from the Israelis, seeing what the response is from the West. These are all probing actions, and I think you should look at them that way. Patrick was in the military. Some other people might have a better perspective on this.
I don't know if Patrick's not available right now, so let's go to former homeless conservative.
Yes, I saw an article from Reuters that said Biden in 2021 he lifted what Trump had against funding Gaza or Palestine, and Biden reinstated funding Gaza and Palestine with his Build Back Better plan or something like that, get them funding or something like that. I heard.
Yes, there's been a number of these movements, and what we have to do is we have to remember whenever these movements are made by the Biden administration that have been done over the years to placate the Hamas, to placate UNRWA, so they can start shipping in hate-filled books. This all needs to be done in the perspective that this administration had a policy that was an Iranian Islamic Republic nuclear policy. It did not have a policy to deal with that cancer. And their policy was severely flawed. We all know that. They're a month away from a breakout time. They can produce 6 nukes in a month's time. And the world's at war. So that's where we are.
Biden is not speaking today, he's speaking tomorrow, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no updates on that front. Okay, thanks. Okay, go ahead, Salman.
Salman's a Iranian former political prisoner. So if
yes, and Salman will know, like taking the FTOs, taking the Houthis off the foreign terrorist organization list. That was one of the first moves the Biden administration made, and they were proud of it, trumping it. Saying that what a great move this is. So,
go ahead, Salman.
Hi, Adrian. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Estelle. So, Daniel is retired from being a comedian because Justin Trudeau do comedy better than Daniel. So it's really funny. Exactly last night, Justin Trudeau delivered a speech in the anti-Semitism conference in Ottawa. And at the same time, in Yonge Boulevard, heart of the Toronto, in front of Israeli consulate, pro-Hamas crowd, they were chanting Intifada, Intifada. Okay, I know a bit Arabic because I'm Iranian and I'm not far from those countries. And what is the meaning of Intifada for those who doesn't know? Which means that invitation for a violent attack to Jews and Israelis' interests. And they are chanting it in the Yonge Boulevard, the most crowded, and I can say that the most important intersection in all over Canada. And what's happened? Police just watching. And the mayor of Toronto, Olivia Cha, asset of the Chinese Communist regime in Toronto, violence and hate rally and anti-Semitism has no place in Canada. But again, day after day, and they repeat it today. They repeat it today. My Iranian crowd, my Iranian friends, it's unbelievable. I do remember 20 years ago, Besiegis, former IRGC guys, regime supporters, in the name of religion, they block the street and they hold a public prayer in the street in Tehran. I do remember that. I saw it with my own eyes. And tonight, they did the same thing in Toronto. And my Iranian crowd, they are shocked My Iranian friends are shocked and they are chanting in Arabic. They are reading some verses of Quran, inviting for doing something violence. And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Canada is failed and really failed, and Toronto is lost. So I hope that we can just do a good resistance for a few years later when Daniel is 100 years old, when I am 200 years old. We can say that, bro, we fight. We lost again. We lost the battle, but at least we fight and we lost. And it's really funny. Canada is a funny and sad country. If you hung for freedom, Justin Trudeau gonna put you in the jail. Justin Trudeau gonna freeze your bank account. But if you do money laundering, millions dollar of money laundering for the regime, if you hung for Hamas, police gonna protect you.
Thank you.
Sin is listening. I don't know if he wants to come up or not. I'll go down if that's the case.
No, he didn't request. Let's go to Hossam.
Hello, hi Stealth, hi everyone. I wish Stealth you hear me to the end. I know you have a lot of exit messages you receive from people, but I send you very important tips to protect your account, to protect your phone,
Thank you.
and to protect the space as well. To report all people who tag your name and tag your handle, report all of them one by one and click. And after that, after you report them one by one, block them as well. That is going to help because they did the same thing yesterday with me when I was with Chet. They tagged my name, my handle. They put my handle, Chet handle, and all the people who speaks on Chet space. And I just want to say also I'm jealous from Whiskey because you said he always there for you. I'm always there for you, and I'm
Thank
behind
you.
Israel and behind Jewish people for what they are doing because they have a true case. I mean, like their case. It's we support their case because they are innocent. For all what has happened, they are innocent and they are right. It's normal. What they are doing is very normal because they get attacked, and specifically they attack their people. They attack it's not only their people. They attack a civilian people, disarmed people. It's a very coward act. It's happened to them. So I support them 1 billion%, 1 billion%. And I just want, if you always need me to share my experience, because they hacked my phone once, the Iranian people, okay? There is an example in Iraq, we say it in the Middle East. Don't ask a doctor how he can heal you. Ask someone he was sick, okay, and after that he get healed. How he get healed, and how he can share his experience with you, because they hacked my account and I fix it by myself. I am not an IT person, okay, but I love computer. I love devices. I can do maintenance to my computer by myself. I format my computer. I update my phone by myself. All of that I do it by myself. I don't depend on people. So and without any certificate, without any like a degree from the college of or the university. Like I said yesterday, I send you a very important tips in your account.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, I'll look at
go
it.
ahead.
Yes, I will. No, I will look at it.
Okay,
It's just I've got like 200 DMs, but
I
I should
feel
look at
you.
the ones
I
that
feel you.
I
I
engage
know.
with. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
and I'm trying to work,
Just
and
turn off
I'm
the Wi-Fi
trying to. No,
if
thank you.
you see your phone acting weird. Turn off the Wi-Fi, turn off the data, turn
Yes.
off the
Yep.
Bluetooth, and call your provider right away and reset your
Yep.
internet. Okay?
Yep.
Bye.
Yep. Yep.
Thank
Yep.
you.
All over that. Perfect. Thank you. I'm glad it. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Jill V, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you holding up? Okay.
Oh, so.
Okay. You know I'm up in Minnesota. We are getting hit with a texting campaign right now as we speak. I had somebody screenshot it. It's from a group called Engage. It's all about the Palestinian Authority. Do you want me to DM them to you or to someone else? Because you said your DMs are pretty full.
Let me.
You can DM it to me if you'd like,
Yeah.
and I'll
Thank
shoot
you.
it through to Charlie.
Okay, you gonna
Sorry,
to Charlie?
I
Yeah.
just saw M in here
Okay.
and he just disappeared. Give me a second. Shoot.
Send him a message. I think I tried to invite him up and I removed him from the space
Oh shit.
accidentally.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
okay. It's okay.
I am so sorry
It's
about
okay.
that.
It's okay. It's
I think
okay.
the stage is full, so it was.
No,
I
I
don't
got
think
it.
I could bring anybody.
I removed somebody so I could bring him in.
My apologies.
No, don't worry about it. It's growing pains. He doesn't show removed
Neophyte.
even. No, it's okay. I'm gonna say it's Adrian's fault. I'm gonna just DM him if you can. He's not even in the removed listing.
I'm gonna message him.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I sent him one too.
Maybe Adrian, did you just deny it, not removed him? Like if you denied it, then he could still come back.
Yeah.
As opposed to removing him. Yeah.
It looked like I removed him. I'm concerned about this, which really. Oh, he's back. He's back. Okay, he's
great.
requested.
Okay.
Add speaker.
Yes.
Great. M, my apologize. You can kill me later.
No, don't kill. No killing. Hey, how are you? I know we didn't get to finish your update because Rep. George Santos came in from the White House and from the Capitol to give us an update. I just wanted to kind of finish an update with you, and I'm glad I have Adrian here and Daniel and Charlie and Vaughn. And Kira, thank you everybody for being up here, and just wanted to kind of get a summation of what you see going on. I know it's a little bit quiet. There's a little bit of uptick in the West Bank, but I'm primarily concerned about any other escalations in the northern area in Hezbollah and what's going on with Jordan and Egypt right now.
Sure. So I would say that President Biden's visit was a success. That's the opening shot, and it's the first point in this update. Why? He expressed full solidarity and full support, and he said justice must be achieved. This is a very strong statement, that the crime was committed and justice needs to be exacted for this crime. So in my assessment, this means that the United States government fully supports a land incursion into the Gaza Strip and fully supports the announced military objective of the current war. When I say war, I mean that the State of Israel declared war on the 7th. Yeah, this is a nation state and a war declaration, and they declared war against a non-state actor that had just attacked them and killed thousands of people. So this is not the Arab-Israeli conflict. This is not the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. This is not anything. That yes, there is a conflict. The conflict has an arc of development that spans over 7 decades or more than 70 years. Fine, you can argue that as much as you want, but as defined by the State of Israel, this is a declaration of war with an announced military operation with announced objectives. So he fully supports that. This is a good point to build on. I believe that the King of Jordan is kind of panicking right now, and I believe that he's quite worried about his throne. And I think that what President Mahmoud Abbas did and what King Abdullah did was quite irresponsible. To cancel the summit in Jordan, in Amman, between King Abdullah as the host, he needs to be mentioned first, and President Biden, President Mahmoud Abbas, because that's his cause, and President Sisi should have been held and shouldn't have been canceled over the information out or the fake news about what happened at the hospital. It's his loss again. It's a watershed moment for the Palestinian Authority or the PLO. But hey, that's what they are good for. They always miss opportunities, and they don't. They seem not to understand history, and watershed moments for them has become a sport. Now, what will happen in Jordan is that King Abdullah will allow the population to demonstrate, but it's not going to change anything. He's received, I believe, a call from CENTCOM commander, and CENTCOM commander also called the Minister of Defense, if I recall correctly. There's a statement. Oh my God! Here comes Rambo. Hang on. So
Rambo's his dog.
yeah. So hang on. Oakley. So
I'm concerned, M, that Rambo may have inculcated the ideology of Hamas partially.
no,
Is that a
no.
concern for
He's
you?
actually he's a very sweet dog, but he just doesn't want anyone to come near him at 5 a.m. in the morning. It's fine. Oh, here comes another one.
He needs a coffee and a cigarette first, and maybe a croissant.
So so King Abdullah is going to allow demonstrations, but he's not going to do anything. He understands that the survival of his kingdom depends on the military and the security cooperation he enjoys with the United States government. The PLO and Mahmoud Abbas, well, it will be another watershed moment for them, and they will have to wait until the land operation in Gaza ends before they make their position. He went for the emotional, maximalist rhetoric, 3 days of mourning, blah, blah, blah. Egypt also declared that as well as a contingency to control public anger. Egypt will continue to cooperate with the United States government, and they will continue to cooperate with the State of Israel on security and military coordination. President Biden argued for the flow of humanitarian relief into the Gaza Strip, and he stressed on this being a factor in Israel not losing international support for its ground incursion. So we are expecting humanitarian relief aid to start flowing by next Friday. It's Thursday today. Here it's 5:06 local. Here and there it's 2:06 UTC. So we will be sending some engineering elements to fix the road between the Egyptian border crossing and the Palestinian border crossing, and we are expecting someone, hasn't been decided yet, to fix the border crossing on the Palestinian side so that it starts working. As soon as that happens, the trucks going in will be processed, and foreign nationals waiting at the border crossing will be allowed out through that crossing into Egyptian territories, and then they can go on from there, decide where they want to go, where they need to go. And that was one of the elements of the negotiations. Netanyahu, on the other side, he's at war, and understandably, the state of Israel cannot be seen as supplying its enemy. So, as a political compromise, he issued a statement saying that no aid will be delivered from Israeli territory into the Gaza Strip, and rightfully so. The Erez and Kerem Shalom border crossings remain closed, and Israel is not under any obligation to deliver any form of aid to a non-state actor running a geographical land and launching terror attacks out of it. So that's the political compromise all parties agreed to, and it's good optics because it will make sure that Israel doesn't lose international support as the land incursion progresses. Now, on the northern front, again, Hezbollah's participation. They have been engaging in skirmishes and harassment, but there is one important observation to consider. They used the same tactic that Hamas and other armed factions used during the October 7th attack when they used anti-material sniper rifles and other fires to take out sensors and cameras along the border fence. We're seeing Hezbollah doing the same thing. So there were a couple of videos over the last 2-3 days. You can hear a lot of gunfire. The reporters and journalists are not approaching the contact line to avoid, endangering their safety. But there were a couple of videos where you could hear heavy gunfire. Now, Hezbollah released videos on from their side through their media arm, Al-Manar, I think, and it was showing groups of their fighters taking out those cameras and those sensors. In some cases, they used sniper rifles. In other cases, they actually sent a group of 2 or 3 operatives with a media one who was recording what they are doing, and they were just like firing their rifles after getting off a pickup truck at the watchtowers, taking out the cameras and taking out the sensors. However, the IDF released a statement saying that yes, we're aware of them doing this. Yes, we know that they took out the cameras and the sensors, but we haven't gone blind. We still have an intelligence picture across the border, and we see what they are doing, and we have other means to collect intelligence on their actions and to maintain our early warning capabilities. There are rumors that Hezbollah had started calling their fighters abroad, and that some of them are returning to Lebanon. How? I don't know. The Lebanese national carrier has parked 4 of its jets in Turkey. I'm sure they're worried about bombing the airport. I'm sure they're worried about insurance. Insurance, when it comes to flights in the region, has gone up a little bit. Some carriers are avoiding having flights. Others of business as usual. We will see. Will they escalate? Yes. I think at this point, as soon as the land incursion starts, Hezbollah will do something. Now, how stupid will it be? I don't know. They are still receiving warnings from all parties involved. France has issued them a very stern warning. The United States warned them again. The UK as well. The British Prime Minister is on his way, I think. He will be visiting Israel and he will be visiting Egypt as well, I think. We had the German counselor, Olaf Scholz, was here yesterday. So there is consensus that there is international support for a land incursion operation to dismantle Hamas. Again, Hamas is dead. And the only option they have got left is to just release all the hostages immediately and surrender unconditionally. But of course, they're not going to do so. So this is the calm before the storm. Everything is dependent on the beginning of the land incursion at this point. It's the only thing that will show the true intentions and dispositions of regional players and tools.
No, thank you for that summary. I think Colby wants to ask you perhaps a question, and Daniel, and then I'll circle back. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree broadly with M's assessment of where we stand right now, but I do want to ask him about one thing with regard to Hezbollah, and I'm just going to read off a question that was asked to the president on Air Force One on the way back home from Israel. So the journalist asked, "May I ask you about, there's a report in the Times of Israel that says Biden officials have indicated to Israel in recent days that if Hezbollah initiates a war against Israel, the U.S. military will join the IDF in fighting the terrorist group." And President Biden says, "Not true." Journalist, "Not true?" President, "That was never said." And that was followed up with John Kirby on the NSC, and he reiterated there's no intention of putting U.S. boots on the ground. And the journalist asking, but what isn't the point of the carriers too? And Kirby says the point of the carriers is to deter anybody from taking action, but that seems to kind of be there's some conflict there with the president saying that there's no promise to Israel that the U.S. would take action. So I'm curious, what's your reaction to the president saying that, and whether you think that the U.S. will end up joining in if Hezbollah takes action against Israel?
So President Biden is a very cunning fox. So when he says no boots on the ground, this is exactly what he means. But he doesn't mean that there wouldn't be airstrikes. What I'm seeing right now is that the United States is amassing enough firepowers to launch airstrikes against Hezbollah's targets as well as targets in Iraq if need be. If Iran mobilizes some of its Shiite militias in Iraq and instructs them to carry out attacks against either American troops, like the failed attack we saw, I think a day ago, they tried to send loitering munition or one-way attack drones suicide drones, kamikaze drones, call them whatever, to target a base where U.S. troops are stationed, and that was foiled. Both of them were taken down. If that increases, there will be airstrikes, but no boots on the grounds means that no American troops in American uniforms, American flags, insignia, will be seen fighting Hezbollah or Hamas either on the northern front or the southern front, and that's the wise thing to decide and the wise thing to say. That doesn't discount the possibility that some special forces might be involved in one way or another, either wearing uniforms without insignia, without flags, or embedded with the Israeli troops and wearing their uniforms and their flags. It's fine. It's standard procedure. When soft operators are deployed in such situations, usually they don the uniforms of the host nation, and it's absolutely just fine. But it's for optics, and it's for the safety of the American people and safety for American interests across the region. No American president in this very flammable situation will take any move that will increase anti-American sentiment across the region or incentivize terrorists abroad to use this as a reason for launching attacks against American citizens and American interests. Granted, they will continue to do so, and they might do so and might engage in that, but you don't give them fuel, you don't give them fuel to add to the fire. But in my opinion, or in my assessment, if Hezbollah starts attacking Israel on the northern front, the Israeli Air Force will be responding, but also you might get other airstrikes carried out by American fighter jets or the air wing on the carrier, or using cruise missiles, which is fine. They are a terrorist organization, and as declared by the United States government, and American citizens died and were taken hostage in this attack. So the Marine the EMF, the Marine Expeditionary Force, is there just to make sure if they needed to do evacuations en masse from Lebanon, but not to actually land and support the IDF in any operations. The German government has done the same, by the way. They sent one of their elite units to Cyprus right now. It's going to be there for a while. And I believe that they are more or less prepared for the same scenario, evacuating foreign nationals from Lebanon if the situation deteriorates and Hezbollah escalates on the northern front.
How about the UK? What has the UK sent? I believe they've sent something to the region as well.
The first thing the UK sent was an RC 135 rivet joint, if I recall correctly, to conduct signal intelligence.
There's naval assets as well that have been sent. That was confirmed.
The maritime standing group. That I don't know which one it is, but yeah, there's a maritime standing group in the East Med as well.
So there's no expectation that as of yet that they might join hypothetical airstrikes like the Americans would against Hezbollah, were they to open a new front.
It's possible. They have assets in Cyprus, if I'm correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Go ahead, Daniel, and Free, and then we'll go to Artist.
Okay, yeah. So thinking of the King of Jordan, Egypt, and Lebanon, I think one of the areas where it's, I think, a productive narrative for us is the treatment of the Arab countries of the Palestinians, and the false support of Palestinians in these countries. Like I do not tell me anyone in Lebanon gives an actual shit about the Palestinians when they have them as literal third-class citizens locked up in a refugee camp since the 90s. Like, don't fucking tell me that. And I think where we have the truth here is, right, Palestinian refugees are not the same as other refugees. There's a specific UN organization, UNRWA, which classifies Palestinian refugees as anyone with a family member who lived 2 years in the land of Israel between crazy amounts of times and then isn't there anymore, right? You can pass on your Palestinian refugee to your children and your children's children and your children's children, right? And, Bella Hadid is a Palestinian refugee and all this. The point that I think we need to make, though, what really gets them and exposes the plot here is these refugees, because they're a different category, get about last time I checked, 4 times the amount of funding as normal refugees. So why do all these Arab countries have Palestinian refugee camps still? Because they have them locked up in a cage, keeping them really angry. Like these, you want to talk about open air prisons, right? The literal Palestinian refugee camps are not allowed to leave, and they have to stay refugees, and they keep becoming more and more refugees. So the Arab countries can make a cash cow off of dumb Westerners giving money to the UN for human rights and what you get from UNRWA, right? And I think this is something where a lot of new people who are coming into the conflict have seen now the lie of the hospital in this, and a lot of people, it's something that can actually latch onto because how much skepticism is there of the UN and these, let's say, globalist institutions post COVID, right? You have, I think, something winning here that also deeply undermines these Arab states, which are being rah rah rah, going at Israel. If they will care if public perception in the West turns to mockery, like there is something there, and like they're all hypocrites. They're all hypocrites on this exact issue, and they're just using the Palestinians as a cash cow from foolish Westerners. And I think this is one of the ways we have to push because if we spend our entire time complaining about all the lies of like Israel killed a bajillion, Israel killed 40 billion Palestinians last week with Hezbollah, like we can, yeah, that's ridiculous, but I really do think we need to undermine these Arab propagandists who are the biggest abusers of the Palestinian people. Like any country that has Palestinians as legitimate second or third class citizens, like on the books, we have to point this out. Like, and if Lebanon and Hezbollah, like Lebanon especially, like we cannot let the Lebanese pretend for a second that they care about the Palestinian cause. And if you break this, notion and public support and within it decreases the chances that these countries jump in and do something crazy and instigate a wider war. So I think that's a productive avenue to go down, is to really point out that hypocrisy of all these nations that rah 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 about Palestinian human rights yet are making tons of money off this Palestinian refugee scheme. So that's my fish
I think
take.
Em might want. I think Em might want to respond to you. Go ahead, Em.
Yeah, the Palestinians have become the cousin in the family you tend to avoid. You'll tell everyone that he's your cousin, he's part of the family, but when you're sitting behind closed doors, you don't do anything except discuss the stupidity of said cousin. So there's a difference between what the Arab leaders say behind closed doors regarding this issue and what they say publicly in order to manage the public sentiment. Is there anger on the Arab street? Yes. Is it huge that it actually threatens the safety of Arab regimes or leaders? No. I will speak specifically to Egypt and then to Lebanon. Egypt is the only regimental armed force in the region that can cause trouble, but they don't want to, and they don't need to, and they are definitely staying out of it. So even if you get 100% anger on the street, it's not going to change government policy when it comes to defense, when it comes to security cooperation, and certainly when it comes to the peace treaty. And since we don't have a large number of Palestinian refugees inside Egypt, we don't really consider it an opportunity when it comes to UN payments to refugees. We now have a lot of refugees in the country. There are not Palestinians, we have Syrians, and we have Sudanese. And we're doing so because the Syrian ones managed to arrive legally to the country, and then they registered with the refugee mission, and then they went on to concentrate in certain neighborhoods and start businesses. So they are, living peacefully right next to their Egyptian brethren. So they're contributing to the economy. They're paying taxes. They're sending their kids to schools, and usually they're peacefully and they're not involved in any political activities. This will not be the case with the Palestinians. So you cannot really integrate 2.3 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip into the country, because it will be a huge socio-political and socio-economic and a security threat that the government of Egypt is not willing to deal with right now. When it comes to Lebanon, I believe that the Lebanese people are more concerned with the economic collapse that they are going through right now and the deterioration of living standards and uh, utilities, the state of utilities that they have, as well as the political conflict domestically that has consumed them. So they really don't care. If you go to the Gulf states, well, they have a lesson that they saw unfold in front of their eyes during the invasion of Kuwait. It was the Palestinians living in Kuwait who led the Iraqi officers to the homes of Kuwaiti policemen and servicemen, military officers and pilots, and had them killed and had their wives and their daughters, raped and then killed. And it was also Palestinians escaping with the Iraqi army when it was retreating the highway of death. Most of those vehicles were filled with Palestinians who were running away from Kuwait into Iraq with what they looted from Kuwait. So Gulf countries understand exactly what a destabilization force Palestinians can be once they get accepted into their territories. There's another factor here. The Palestinians themselves, let's say that displacement happened and Palestinians were removed from the Gaza Strip and Palestinians were removed from the West Bank. What will ensue, it will be a multi-generational terrorism wave for decades, because the Palestinians will consider the Arab states the enemy that failed them and collaborated with, quote unquote, the occupation to liquidate the Palestinian cause. Now, everyone understands this threat, including the State of Israel and the United States government. So right now, the only solution to stabilize this is to continue counterterrorism and security operations in the West Bank to stabilize it and basically dismantle all the underground networks that they have. Fatah should have a learning curve and control their militias. And eventually, if they're smart, they should do the same thing that ETA did in Spain, the Basque, demilitarize, put down their arms, and dismantle themselves, right? Announce that the organization is done and that it will not have an armed faction and that it will only be conducting business or doing business or negotiating through the political wing or the political bureau, and that they will announce the full dismantlement of their armed faction if they are smart. This is again, but another watershed moment. The Palestinian Authority right now, Mahmoud Abbas, had an opportunity and they wasted it. Had he went to Amman and met with President Biden, he would have at least gained some legitimacy that he needs right now to be considered the man speaking for the Palestinian people and the only person who represents them, taking that away from Hamas. And after he could have announced a couple of steps to reform the organization and take it further away from violence and take it further away from hate speech. He hasn't done that. So that's on Mahmoud Abbas and that's on the PLO advisors, if they have any, advising him on his actions, right? So this brings me to my final point. Palestinians will not forget if someone helped liquidate their cause. And the Arab leaders know that their own populations are going to hold them responsible for liquidating the cause if they allow the displacement of the Palestinians. So we find ourselves in a pickle that we want to reach consensus or certain form of understanding of how to manage it to prevent it from blowing up more down the line. We have a golden opportunity here, right? And as sad as this may sound, right? Hamas committed a very atrocious crime. That crime is good enough to justify and prosecute a campaign to destroy Hamas. Not just teach Hamas a lesson, not exact revenge, but to deliver justice. Hey, you were born 1987, you have been doing so and so since, And finally, on October 7th, 2023, you did that. You're done. Bye-bye. And I will not alienate everyone involved in the process. And after I'm done with my job, destroying you completely, there will be more negotiations. No one is trying to force a long-term solution on anyone here right now. And rightfully so. If we all reach if all stakeholders and all those leaders reach an understanding that A, there's a pressing need for doing this, for this mission, then B, as soon as the mission is achieved, we will sit down and we have principles that we will agree to and we will negotiate and we will solve this once and for all. This is the opportunity that is presenting itself out of this conflict, out of this attack, out of this war. So we have to seize it. Why? Because we have to deny them the narrative that they will use to generate enough hate and recruit for generations to come and launch more attacks and embed themselves in other countries where they can start working against those other countries, further destabilizing them and further inviting terrorist attacks and more loss of life. It's a seismic effect. So you have to seize the opportunity. And I think that's what President Biden was trying to say, is that you have a clear mission, you need to deliver justice, go in, deliver the justice, and then we'll sit down and talk and figure out how to go out of it. But right now, because a lot of sensationalism on both sides is trying to push maximalist narratives, this is where you lose the opportunity. Right. This is where you lose the opportunity. It's only my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm more than willing to admit that I'm wrong. But if it goes that way, that actually secures the national security interests of the state of Israel on the long term more than anything else.
Guys, just I don't know if Stealth's announced it yet. We're going to do these last two hands, and then we're going to sleep because we all need to stay sane and come back hopefully soon.
I think it's Freemason and then artist.
Hey, just a couple points here. First, Stealth. I don't know if you've reached out to Act Bridget Gabriel yet, but
I
she
have.
tells.
She hasn't. Her DMs are open, but she doesn't come to a space. And I
I
believe
just
you wanted. Yeah.
I just sent her the invite. Maybe tomorrow. But anyway, she tells a crazy story about, the decline and fall of Lebanon, going from, seaside resorts and beautiful countryside to just devastation. So 2 points for M, and if you could answer for me. One, I'm hearing from a very tight source that on one of the aircraft carriers from the United States that Force Recon Raider Battalion from the Marine Corps are on that ship. That's number one. And is that true or not? And then secondly, has there been any active defense mechanisms with the new laser system that was announced the other day?
I'm not privy to deployment orders to American units, so I wouldn't know. As for the Iron Beam, I don't think I have seen any interceptions carried out by the system yet. And I'm quite sure as soon as one successful interception is carried out, it will be fully advertised by the IDF or Rafael or the Israeli government, because it works as a celebration of success and also works as deterrence.
If I could jump in on that, the IDF said a couple nights ago, denying the reports that were coming out about Iron Beam being deployed, because that was being put out by a bunch of people, I guess 2 days ago, I think. So they denied those reports then, so they didn't have anything to announce on it being operational, and wouldn't speculate about when it might be operationally deployed. That said, the U.S. does have numerous directed energy weapons already in the field, and I believe some of them are actually in Iraq right now. So they do have those kinds of capabilities, which is obviously a good thing, because we've seen Iranian proxies already launching those loitering munition attacks against U.S. bases today. So.
That said, I wouldn't at all be surprised if they did deploy it during the ground invasion.
Sorry, I cut you. Sorry, I interfered. Right now, they're doing tests about some of the parts of the Iron Dome. It's not fully operational, but they put it on surface because it's wet time. It's a lot of missiles, and it was like a few testing on half of a lot of the parts of the Iron Beam. I believe it's going to take something like 3 or 4 more months until it will be fully operating.
Avi, do you think it's possible they would try to, especially because there's going to be a ground operation, in the foreseeable future, that they would try to test it out on maybe on some projectiles that were
Let me
heading
tell you
off
something.
course?
Let me tell you something like
Yeah,
that. This
yeah,
is the best opportunity, to see how it really works and not only testing. I'm
yeah.
sure. I'm sure that if it will be fully operating in 100%, because it's not only Rafael, it's Rafael and LB together. Half half of the things on the ground, it's Rafael, and what's happened up on the missiles, it's Elbit. Okay. Right now, the testing, the half of that, what's Rafael doing the testing. It's supposed to be active, fully active in, between 4 to 6 months. I believe it's going to be faster because they have the opportunity to do that. It's going to be a long war, and I'm sure in 100% that we're going to see it working on that war.
Yeah, that makes sense. Stealthy, do you want to go to Aristonkel or Colby?
Just real quick on the question about the recon Marines, they're not on the Ford, but there's a force recon unit as part of the 26th MEU, which is deployed in the region.
Say that one more time, Colby. Sorry, one more time.
There's force recon as part of the 26th MEU unit,
Right.
which is in the region. They're not on the Ford though. They're on whatever amphibious assault ship they're operating off of.
Right, and that's already in the region separately. Gotcha.
The Red Sea right now, if I recall correctly, or the Gulf. I forget where it's moving around. I think.
It's in the
Gotcha.
Red
Okay.
Sea.
They're on the way. They're going to meet them here and around here.
What did you
Mr.
say, Avi? What did you say, Avi?
I said about the Marine Force. They're on the way from different places in the Gulf, and they're gonna meet the Ford over here.
Okay,
Hey,
thank you.
sorry, I know we're about. Sorry, go ahead, Avi. I'm sorry, Avi. Go ahead.
But I know that 2,000 employees of the Marine employees, warriors, that are on the way to the area here. They're going to meet the carriers over here. They're on the way from the Gulf.
Thank you. I had a question, but I was interrupted, so I forgot my train of thought. Let's just go to Aristonkel.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks so much. This has been a really a fantastic conversation. I wanted to go back to some of the things that Daniel was talking about. Daniel, by the way, good to see you. We used to go to school together. Hope you're doing well. He was talking about some countries feigning support for the Palestinians. And my sense reading the headlines and seeing some of the interviews is that these countries are kind of doing a little bit of the hokey pokey, where you have the King of Jordan on the news basically saying it's a red line, aka casus belli, if any foreign entity, aka Israel, were to kind of dump the Palestinians on their doorstep. And at the same time, he's dealing with riots in Amman that are trying to storm the Israeli embassy. And so I feel like he's balancing this line. And I think we've had similar comments made by Sisi in Egypt. And you can correct me if I'm mistaken. And it really just seems like they're feigning support, but at the same time trying to appease their population. The only country in the region that I feel like that doesn't really apply to is Lebanon, who doesn't really have their own sovereignty, with Hezbollah controlling the south of the country. And there have been videos of some of the Christian communities in the south actually protesting against what Hezbollah has been doing, which is probably a callback to what happened in the 80s there, but that's probably a conversation for another time. So I feel like, there's a weird song and dance happening between Jordan, Egypt, and Lebanon. And the circumstances in two of them are very different than the circumstances in the third. So that's number one. And the second thing I wanted to talk about is, we were talking about aid going into the Strip, and the Israelis basically announcing these safe routes going into the south with, I think it was about 600,000 last time I checked, civilians making their way south from the north. I don't really understand how operationally this is going to work. Obviously, I'm not a military strategist. I'm not in the IDF. But if they're going to be focusing their operations on the north, I mean, Hamas operatives could presumably just simply move to the south. And if the IDF focuses on the south at some point in the foreseeable future, they could presumably move to the north. And what I'm trying to say, my main point, the thrust of this, is that it's very difficult to root out in a counter-terror operation in a region with 2 million people a terror cell. And Hamas, more than anything, I would love to see them wiped off the face of the earth, believe me. But they're more than anything else, they're an idea. And their leadership is scattered, with some of them in Qatar, as we know, and who knows where else, probably in Iran. And so the question that I have in my mind is, I would love to see them destroyed. Is it possible? The pessimist in me says no.
Well, I mean, to answer some of these questions, listen, I do think victory is possible. I mean, is there the determination to do it and go down that path fully? You know, that's the question. I'll sort of address the Arab country things. Like Egypt and Jordan, it should be said, they're not taking in any Palestinians ever. Both of their main political rivals are the Muslim Brotherhood, right? It was Sisi who launched the coup when Mohammed Morsi was basically like, okay, we did democracy once, like jihad now, like this is going to be a caliphate forever, right? And he made the decision, okay, the army is going to take over instead of the Islamists. Like, will this be a military dictatorship or an Islamist dictatorship? And Sisi took back control. So he knows his number one opponent internally is the Muslim Brotherhood. That's the largest, let's say, party opposition to him, and Hamas is the militant wing of the Muslim Brotherhood. Same thing in Jordan. So, those countries are not going to come in and start helping out the Palestinians or joining against them to help. No, they know the danger they've created, right? There's a reason why they didn't integrate these people into their own states when they ruled them from 48 to 67, and things haven't gotten better. So they know that. My point was wider. Like you make a good point of sort of the hot potato that these leaders are playing. Yeah, they're forced to say different things in Arabic and English and wash this way and that way because they're sort of jumping on two sort of hot roads. Like balance it. And my philosophy here is, well, help increase the heat on the productive side. Right, you point out, yes, the Lebanese Christians. Right, what about all the Iranians inside Iran who, like, when they tried to show the Palestinian flags at the soccer match, just chanted, "Shove the Palestinian flag up your ass" in the entire stadium? Right, there's another video coming out today of they had like one of these gatherings where like the regime has people come in and they chanted like "Death to Israel," and the crowd was like "Death to Palestine." No, like it's these things are good to push, and to build the pressure on the sort of Arab states, like internally and externally, to sort of increase the side that makes them hop to a more, oh, two-state, we don't know, hospitals, where are they, instead of a definitive, rah, 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 the Jews, right? We want to, I think, reduce as much of that as possible to, to mitigate the jihad in a way, as much as we can. So I think, that is my point. Like, I'll plug that on October 29th, it's Cyrus the Great Day. And like, if you're in Toronto, message me to support, the Iranian community and like political prisoners and victims of terrorism to try and lobby the government to list the IRGC as a terrorist organization. The same people who funded and probably provided the intelligence for this attack. So, this is one of the things I think is important work, like, finding the dissidents in these other communities and like amplifying what they're saying and then like making good points that are relatable to the wider general public in America, Canada, wherever your country is. Like this is that's been one of my philosophies of how to, combat these people going forward. So listen, I think this is possible, but it's on us to hold, like, I think have the moral and intellectual integrity and courage to sort of stand the line here and not break. And as Em said, like, there's more than enough justification for what Hamas did. They live streamed it. Like, crimes against humanity were live streamed and celebrated. Like, it's war. And we're going to fight the war and we're going to win the war. And we're not going to listen to any Western academic who thinks they know so much about morality that they can live so detached from reality. No, right? And I think if we're able to hold that, or at least the nation of Israel is, then there's better chance of us winning the war. And I think by undermining the longtime enemies, and like we have some of these anti-Israel propagandists, or these Arab countries, they're sort of in a bit of a hot bind here. Like we know that they know that they know what we know. Like And there's enough of a public consciousness here that I say we go, full out and, get our narrative, like get the truth out there and be persistent and belligerent as they are. So, I this is why I'm more optimistic, because I spent some time in these communities. I know them. Like there are allies willing to help who are fighting for the same things, maybe just under a different banner. Like we're saying stop Hamas and stop funding them, and they're saying, list the IRGC as a terrorist organization to stop the money laundering. Yeah, yeah, the money laundering in our country that from the IRGC, like this is supporting these networks that are part of all of this, and like they're also in the UK and Australia, and there's like Biden still has some fucking Iranian spies with security clearances. Like, it's time to point this out and start kicking ass and taking names. Like literally, like we got to take down some bad actors here in the West. And there's the thing of, yes, take down some bad guys, but also build something good. Like there are a lot of people who are willing to support us and listen right now. So instead of just screaming about how terrible it is, like it's time we get out there and also spend our time, like, again, let's kick some ass.
Yeah, good points. Thanks for the reply. On the
I
dissidents.
want to add something on Daniel. You're 100% right, but everybody must stop using the narrative of two states. There is no solution of two states. It cannot be, because the size of the land that they say they're fighting for, they don't care about the land. It's a jihad. They care about all the Jews who will be in the sea. So you must stop using that verb, two-state solution. There is no solution as two states. Another thing about Hamas. Hamas, it's a Muslim Brotherhood. So it's not about Hamas. And don't forget, Hamas, it's not only Gaza. If you do a vote right now in Judah and Samaria, 90% of the people will vote for Hamas, not for PLO. PLO, it's a dead thing. It's like a dead man walking, basically. They have no power, they have no nothing. Really, they have nothing over there. Judah and Samaria, it's all Hamas. Not basically. And if in this war after Gaza, we must clean all Hamas also in Judah and Samaria. And the only thing that people not understand about the Middle East, it's not the same rules that working in the West world. We like talking, we like to say we humans and we blah 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 bullshit. Right here in the Middle East, they understand only power. If we hit them really strong one, it will be quiet here for another 100 years. If we do one mistake and we show weakness, it's gonna be like in 5 to 7 years, and you see something worse than what you see in October 7th. So right now, we're not allowed, to blink our eyes for 1 second. We need to work, and it must be also Judah and Samaria, and it must be also Lebanon, because Hezbollah, it's same as Hamas, just bigger and stronger. And if Hezbollah stay on the north border, it's not gonna end it never. Did you see when it was strong in 2006, and we stopped because the UN and 1701, it was one of the worst things ever, because we give them, space to do whatever they want to around the border. So we need to do it once and for all, to see them. There is no Hezbollah. There is always stay the idea, because Iran and because the Muslim Brotherhood, it's the idea. If you say Hamas, you say Hezbollah, so it's going to be different names. They're not going to stop, because it's the idea. You cannot kill the idea, but right now we can cut 2 arms and 2 legs of them. To cut off the head, it's not even Iran. It's bigger than that. It's Muslim Brotherhood, and it's to kill the ideology. So I don't think we can kill that, but we can make it severe wounded, so they don't want to fight for another 100 or 200 years for their generation to learn about the story about what they're going to have here, in my opinion.
Avi, I don't even think, not to counter my own point from before, but I don't even think that, thinking about this from the PLO standpoint and the Israeli strategic objectives, I don't even think that Hamas needs to be completely eliminated from the Strip for the PLO to get something out of this and for the Israeli strategic objectives to be fulfilled. If Hamas is weakened to a degree that
No,
Fatah,
you forget one thing. You forget only one thing. There is one big thing that changed here. The people of Israel don't want not PLO, no nothing, no two states. It's not about the government. And the government cannot do nothing if 80-90% of the people not allowed it. This is democracy. Demos kratos. And 90% of the people in Israel will not allow that to be.
Avi, my main point, though, is that one of the strategic objectives of Bibi is probably to have a single negotiating partner across the table and probably deal with the devil that he knows that isn't Hamas in the Strip, which might mean potentially putting Fatah in a position of authority there once this is all said and done. But who knows?
He have no power from the people to do that.
Can I jump in here for a second? As far as the PLO, they have absolutely, or Palestinian Authority, they do not, they have no say. They have no power. Everybody knows Mahmoud Abbas is a criminal, and the Palestinian people don't support him. The two-state solution, it came closest in Camp David II, right before Bush was elected, under with Yasser Arafat and Clinton. Ehud Barak gave up everything. The Israelis were very upset with him. And what happened? At the last minute, 11:59, he said, right of return. And that immediately scuttled the entire deal. Everybody likes to point to Oslo and say, well, there were mistakes on both sides. Well, maybe that may be the case. But the opportunity for a two-state solution was there in front of Arafat, and he turned it down. Now, as far as the ideology, it is next to impossible to put that back into the toothpaste bottle. I'm sorry, it is. But here's the fact. We have lost the messaging game in the West, and we need to start taking it back. We need to counter these narratives. 1979 was an absolutely critical year. And this is something that gets lost. We can talk about Hamas, we can talk about Hezbollah, we can talk about the proxies in Iraq, we can talk about all this, but it all leads back to the Islamic Revolution, the Islamic Republic. They have infected the minds of Hezbollah, of the Palestinian people. They are the ones that said, strapping on a suicide, you can go into a Shaheed operation and shoot up a bunch of people and you're going to die. That you're a martyr. Khomeini changes the rules. He says, you can go blow yourself up. You can go blow up a building. And who do we see doing that? Where do we see doing that? It's Hamas, it's Hezbollah, it's all these groups. So the evil of this generation of what we see with Al-Qaeda flying planes into buildings, all these terrorist attacks of mass casualty attacks, it all lands on someone's doorstep, and that is the Islamic Republic of Iran. That is the cancer, and that's the head of the snake as far as this radical ideology. Now, you do have the Muslim Brotherhood as well, all right? And I look at them as different sides of the same coin. It's Qutbism. It's no different than Khomeiniism. It's the same warped ideology. And at the end of days, they expect to be on the battlefield fighting against each other. But until then, let's kill all the unbelievers. Let's kill the infidels. Let's wipe Israel off the face of the map. There's Dar al-Islam and there's Dar al-Harb. We live in the war, in the world of war, and that's how it is viewed. So, with that being said, Hamas needs to be dealt with. You cannot have a terrorist entity on your back door doing this. I'm sorry. I can't believe I'm actually having this discussion right now. As far as Hezbollah, they are very dangerous. We have sat back for way too long, this multiple failed administrations, Republican, Democrat, going back forever, have not had an Iran policy or an Islamic Republic policy until you saw one person come along and he had it for 2 years. And I think he did a good job with it because he had good advisors. And that was the maximum pressure campaign. That is, you need to wipe out that cancer that spreads the money, that spreads the ideology, that is coordinating these mobilizations all over the world to charge embassies, to take over, to march in. They've got a George Floyd statue in the Islamic Republic. I don't think George Floyd would last 2 minutes in that country. So this is what we're up against. And
I saw an interview, Adrian. I'm sorry to interrupt. I saw an interview just posted today from 2 years ago, I think with Vice, where I think it was Khaled Mashal or Ismail Hania, whoever it was saying that, like, you know, we're mourning for George Floyd, and our thing, you know, he was obviously trying to capitalize on the riots in America. He's like, and we're comparing ourselves to George Floyd, and we're the same. And by the way, you see that the Palestinians have very successfully fused themselves with the sort of intersectional lefty coalition in the West, especially in America and in Canada and similar places. But it was pretty hilarious seeing it from, you know, him.
I've heard it from sources, and I want to be gentle about this. I know that Ali Khamenei and some of his main planners and leaders have believed for a long time that they could instigate a race war and just social instability in the United States. And at first I thought, oh, them trying to instigate a race war, that's pretty, you know, that's kind of outlandish. But they're trying it. They're trying to do it. And they're trying to do it not just along racial lines, they're doing it along religious lines, they're doing it along socioeconomic lines, they're doing it across everything to try and divide our country. And that's the way they operate. And it's, again, Muslim Brotherhood is just as active, but when you look at the money that's available to the Islamic Republic, especially without enforcing sanctions, their narco-terrorism, Hezbollah's narco-terrorism in Latin America, they are extremely wealthy and they throw that money around. So there's the problem. That's the problem, and that's the immediate problem in the Middle East. And then you have the larger problem of Russia and China both propping up the Islamic Republic when they're in trouble, and the Islamic Republic propping up them. And let's not forget the UN arms embargo expired today, so that's a little bit of fun news. So no snapback on that, and that means the Islamic Republic can profit off selling their drones on the open market to Russia. They can sell them to Venezuela. They can sell them to Cuba. That's the world we live in.
It's so crazy. And meanwhile, they're sanctioning Russia, obviously, because of the war against Ukraine. But they're allowing, you know, one of Russia's arms suppliers to have sanctions lift. But they're trying to sanction individuals in light of this new war. Anyway, it's one hand.
Yeah, I'm going to watch my language. I'm going to turn it over to M. But this is a circular firing squad. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah, specifically on the Muslim Brotherhood. So the main branch in Egypt is completely fragmented now. The first, second, third, fourth echelons are in jail. What's left of the group is completely dysfunctional. It has been more or less rendered to nothing here. Most of the ones who managed to escape to Turkey, they are having their own internal fight right now. So the group that escaped to Turkey has splintered into 2 or 3 groups, 2 main factions fighting. And the group that is in London, which is the more interesting one because they are the ones running the global financial operations for the entire guild. They too are fragmented, and they are in a conflict with the group, the main group in Turkey as well. You will not see the impact of the collective guild of the International Muslim Brotherhood and the Egyptian group affecting the course of this conflict. It's actually the Qatari government and the Hamas political bureau in Qatar. the Hamas political bureau in Qatar has good relationships with the charge d'affaires, if you can call him that, of the group in London. That's the connection I'm concerned with right now. The group in Turkey is more or less focused entirely on media operations against the government of Egypt. And what's left of the group in Egypt that is not in jail is focused on self-preservation. There's always been this myth that the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood had a secret order called the Phoenix Order that is responsible for reviving the group whenever it goes through a time of crisis. They went through a time of crisis after the assassination attempt of President Nasser. That was the first time he jailed them, and that was the first time they left the country. They went and settled in Gulf countries and in Southeast Asia. They still have a lot of operations there as well, mainly focused on tourism and other economic activities. But they are good at compartmentalization, but that compartmentalization eventually ended in them splintering across not ideological lines, not political lines, but financial lines. They are more concerned about keeping their privileges and their perks rather than working together as a whole unit to snatch the organization from the crisis it is in right now and try to revive it in a new way. Mind you, a lot of and that was quite a surprise. A lot of their prominent third echelon members, students who became engineers and doctors and got their masters, and they were the ones most promising to take leadership roles in the future, they actually officially resigned and condemned the organization and renounced their association with it. No one expected that to happen. So there is another vector of attack against the organization, which is that a lot of its members are growing disillusioned with the leadership and are growing disillusioned with the contract of the organization itself, that they were supposed to look for one another, that they were supposed to care about the mission more about themselves. I believe that the Muslim Brotherhood has been weakened to a certain extent. It doesn't discount the possibility that they might stage a comeback. It's always on the table. But right now, they don't have enough resources to act in unison to support Hamas or to support any other armed Palestinian faction, or even pursue continuous indoctrination efforts. That we can see that that's faltering. It has been reduced to very ridiculous media operations focused on targeting certain countries and certain governments. Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, more or less. Sometimes they diss Saudi Arabia, but not that much. The most active or the most functioning regional Muslim Brotherhood group is the one in Kuwait. They are the ones causing the most headache, actually, because they get elected to parliament. They're always challenging the emir. They're always challenging the emiri diwan. They're challenging the merchant class, and they're trying to turn Kuwait away from being the liberal society that it is to become more and more conservative. And in Tunisia, they're still making some problems, but they're completely fragmented at this point.
Thanks, Em. Commentary is always fantastic. Adrian, I just wanted to reply. Stealth, I'm sorry. Did you want to?
I'm here. Yeah. I just, I think it's time that we just kind of shut down. Everybody's been talking, and some are starting their day, some are finishing their day. And sorry, you go ahead and want to say thank you to everybody, and everybody have a great night. And we'll have some, final thoughts from Aristotle. And Em, I was just writing a bunch of notes of what you were talking about, so I greatly appreciate it. I'm again losing my voice. So it's time for my first meal of the day, and it's only 9 p.m. So go ahead, Aristotle. It's like I'm celebrating Ramadan, actually. Go ahead, Aristotle.
Enjoy breaking your fast, Stealth. I hope that goes well for you. Well-deserved meal. Adrian, I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about cutting the head off the snake with Iran. Apropos of nothing, who I've been thinking a lot about over the past week or so, somewhere between fondness, nostalgia, and hatred, somewhere in between there, Saddam Hussein. Because if this turns into a regional war with all of the players involved, how could you not help but think what the world would be looking like, specifically in the Middle East, if he was acting as a check on Iranian power. Crazy, egotistical maniac, secular and somewhat rational when it came to dealing with Iran. And you'll notice that Iran really only started making a name for itself on the world stage when it came to rattling the saber and funding all of these groups with Ahmadinejad after the fall of Saddam Hussein. And so I just can't help but wonder how the conversation would be shifted if he was still around, and potentially if the ground invasion of Iraq by the US comes to be the biggest geopolitical blunder in the past century, if this turns into a regional conflict with nuclear powers involved.
Yeah, those are all really good questions. I've read books on the policymakers, and I think they firmly believe that Iraq would fall, then Syria, and then eventually Islamic Republic, and they were going to pick the low hanging fruit off the tree. Let's not forget that Saddam Hussein paid. He was a pay for slay guy. He paid the victims, or what he called victims of Israeli aggression, but Hamas terrorists, they blew themselves up. He paid their families. You can say that he was a check on the Islamic Republic, possibly, but right when we start to get towards it's after the first Gulf War when he gets annihilated. All of a sudden, he starts showing these real Islamist stripes. It's on the flags. They change the flag. All of a sudden, he's talking in these tones. He's wearing this religious garb instead of his military uniform. He starts cozying up to the Islamists. All right, and that's kind of so. Here's the rule. The golden rule is you just don't make deals with dictators. You can't depend on them, and you don't know when they're going to turn that gun on you. That's just the way it is. Now, would Saddam put a check in this? I don't think so. I don't know if he would, and that's not for me to say because he's gone. Thank goodness, and I don't miss the guy. But I will say the Americans made a major misstep. What we did was we opened the door to Iraq for the Islamic Republic to completely capitalize and turn that into one of their grand designs. And this is part of their grand design to create this Shia crescent that that threatens both the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Israel at the same time. And it's all coming to fruition under our eyes. It started to go in the right direction when we had the surge and we started to get a good idea of we were fighting back against these Iraqi militias, the Karbala raid in 2007. That happened. We went after some of the key militia leaders. I won't mention their names. You guys probably won't know them. But then we pulled out. We completely pulled out. And what you had was, even before, when they saw the invasion come in, the Iranians just started flooding the border, the Islamic Republic and their operatives, and they eventually ceded the entire government. You have individuals like Hadi al-Meri, who was head of the Badr organization, which was the rearguard action for the Islamic Republic against Saddam Hussein, operating out of Basra. He's head of intelligence. He's an interior minister for the damn country. Okay, and this guy's a terrorist. He's an absolute terrorist. So, what would have happened? You know, you should have, could have, would have. I think we just need to deal with the world that we live in now. I don't trust Saddam Hussein. Never did, never will. He's gone. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Just like you can't trust Muammar Gaddafi. Just like you can't trust Kim Jong Un, Putin, Xi Jinping, Maduro, Ortega. The Castros, they're gone, cockroaches, you know, the whole bunch. They're all the same. You don't negotiate with rogue dealers, rogue nations. It doesn't work out. And I won't go into details because I could go on forever, but we paid a price for doing that. And we're seeing one of those prices paying out right now, and that's our Iran policy, our nuclear policy, our Iran nuclear policy, which is not an Islamic Republic policy. So, yeah, there's mistakes all around, but we need to deal with this shit right now. And that's where I stand on this.
I think that's a good place to end it. And guys, we need to let Stealth get something to eat. She's been an absolute warrior. You know, doing more than her fair share. You know, while having a family that needs her as well. So thanks everyone for coming. You know, give Stealth as much support as she can, because you know she is an absolute necessity to the fight against evil. So thanks everyone for coming here. Stealth, again, thanks so much for hosting and running this, and you know, putting us before you. But it's time to do the right thing and see your family, eat some food, and take solace in the fact that you had a good day and you
Thank
can.
you. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.